I was being followed on my way home from school, so I called the police. My fiancé rushed to my rescue with a team of officers, but missed my adopted sister's call in the process. My adopted sister was brutally assaulted and killed by street thugs. My fiancé believes I staged the whole thing, that I couldn't stand my adopted sister and caused her death. On the day of our engagement ceremony, he locked me in the basement. I was humiliated by a gang of thugs. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day I was being stalked. This time, my fiancé chose to save my adopted sister instead. Seeing the shadows closing in behind me and hearing the heavy footsteps, my pace became frantic. I dug my nails into my palm to steady myself, my hands trembling as I dialed the emergency number. The call was answered almost immediately, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Lowering my voice, I spoke with an involuntary tremor. "Hello, I need to report an emergency. I'm on Wutong Lane right now, and someone's following me." Before she could finish, a scornful chuckle came from the other end of the line, dripping with sarcasm. "Heh, Gu Qing, I never thought you'd stoop this low. Captain Zhao was right about you, always scheming. You'd even file a false police report just to win favor." My heart sank when I heard that familiar voice. To my surprise, it was Zhao Jin's best friend, Cui Jiala, who answered the phone, as the footsteps behind me drew closer. I clutched my phone tightly, my voice trembling. "Jiala, someone's really following me. Please, you guys have to come help me." Cui Jiala remained unconvinced. "Oh really? Tell your entourage to stop putting on this charade. We're not coming, so save your breath." I bit my lower lip hard, hung up abruptly, and immediately dialed other helplines. But every time, the voice that answered was Cui Jiala's. "It's no use. No matter how many times you call, I'll be the one answering. Captain Zhao and his team are already on their way to rescue Xin. No one's coming to play your little games." Upon hearing this, I hung up and let out a bitter smile. Even with a second chance, the outcome turned out completely different from my previous life. In my past life, when I realized I was being followed, I immediately called my fiancé Zhao Jian for help. He rushed over with backup and arrested everyone who was tailing me. But during this time, he also missed the distress call from Gu Xian. Just like me, she was being followed. By the time Zhao Jin arrived, he found Gu Xian lying on the ground, covered in bruises and with her clothes in disarray. She had already stopped breathing. When her parents received the tragic news, they were completely devastated. Zhao Jin held me in his arms and whispered comforting words. "You're my fiancé, which means your family now. I don't regret saving you, and I'll always protect you." Hearing this, I buried my face in his chest, clutching his shirt tightly as quiet sobs escaped me. From that day on, Zhao Jin would personally take me to and from school every day. Even when he got called away for police duty, he'd always arrange for someone to cover for him. It wasn't until a year later, on the very day I graduated from university and got engaged to Zhao Jin personally arranged everything, preparing an engagement banquet for me that rivaled a wedding in scale. At the engagement party, guests were laughing and chatting joyfully, offering their blessings, while my parents beamed with smiles as they hosted. Yet Zhao Jin pulled me into the basement of the backyard garden. At first, I thought Zhao Jin was planning a surprise for me alone, but as we approached the basement door, I sensed something was wrong. Zhao Jin dragged me forward by the wrist. When he opened the basement door and I saw 5 or 6 thugs inside, I realized what was happening. I turned my head, staring at Zhao Jin with utter disbelief in my eyes, but Zhao Jin, shedding his usual gentle and caring demeanor, fixed his hate-filled eyes on me. "Gu Qing, you maliciously filed a false police report back then, deliberately hiring people to follow you just to stage a scene. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have missed Xin's call, and she wouldn't have died in such a miserable way. I've told you countless times, I never had feelings for her. As an orphan living under your roof, her life was already difficult enough. I only saw her as a sister, yet you couldn't tolerate her presence. You were the one who sent those people to humiliate Xin. Now it's your turn to experience what she went through." After these words, the basement door slammed shut. Zhao Jin stood right at the doorway, watching as I was bullied and tormented to death by those thugs. Before my consciousness faded, I saw Zhao Jin's frenzied face as he calmly pulled a lighter from his pocket. With a click, he raised his hand and threw it, declaring that we must atone for Xin. Soon, the raging fire consumed us all. That's when I realized these were the very people who used to bully Gu Xian. But what does any of that have to do with me? Zhao Jin isn't the only cop in this precinct, yet Gu Xian would rather call him than report it to the police. You promised you'd never regret it, that you'd protect me forever. Now you're the one destroying me with your own hands. It's absolutely disgusting how they're pinning all the blame on me. After hanging up the phone, I took a look around. Wutong Lane had no streetlights due to ongoing electrical repairs, so I quickened my pace to get out of the alley as fast as possible. Suddenly, a pair of hands grabbed me by the collar. My face instantly went pale. A cold breath brushed against my ear. "Why are you in such a hurry? Come with me. I'll walk you home." With that, he dragged me deeper into the darkness. Once I realized what was happening, I tried to wrench my hand free, annoyed by my struggling. The man slapped me across the face. "Stop squirming, didn't you hear me? I'm giving you a ride." My head was ringing from the blow, and I spoke with a trembling voice. "I've already called the police, they'll be here any minute." But the man acted as if he hadn't heard, forcibly dragging me deeper into the alley. In the distance, I spotted several figures standing ahead, just as I was about to cry out. I heard the man in front speak, "All these are from your dear brothers, don't worry, they're all for you." I suppressed the urge to cry for help and stomped hard on the foot of the man dragging me. The grip on my wrist loosened slightly, and I immediately broke free, running in the opposite direction. Hearing the cursing and footsteps closing in behind me, I ran for my life. Suddenly, I tripped over my own clumsy footsteps and tumbled to the ground. Seeing this, the person behind me immediately closed in. A sharp, searing pain shot through my scalp, forcing a cry of agony from my lips. A heavy, stinging slap landed hard across my face. All I could hear was ragged, panting breaths and furious curses. "Bitch, thought you could run. Why'd you stop now?" He drove his boot into my chest with a brutal kick. The impact sent me sprawling, pain forcing me to curl into a fetal position. Watching me writhe, the others laughed as they slammed my head against the pavement. I felt something trickling down my forehead, and my vision began to blur. Everything changed after Dad brought Gu Xian home. My parents, who had always doted on me, started showering Gu Xian with affection. Even my fiancé began directing his attention toward her. Knowing Gu Xian had lost her parents, I didn't want to make things difficult for her at home, so I treated her like my own sister. But I never imagined that in my past life, I would die at the hands of my fiancé, Zhao Jin. Now, given a second chance at life, I still find myself utterly alone and without support. Seeing me lying motionless on the ground, those men tried to drag me away. Suddenly, a voice rang out. "What are you doing?" "I've already called the police," as the words hung in the air. The wail of police sirens grew louder and closer. Seeing this, the group kicked me aside and fled in a panic. Not long before, Cui Jiala had received another emergency call, not from me this time, but the location given was the same one I had mentioned earlier. The voice on the phone was frantic, saying several men were assaulting a girl who appeared to be dying, motionless on the ground, barely clinging to life. Cui Jiala recalled the address I'd given during my emergency call and immediately panicked, but every available officer had gone with Zhao Jin to rescue Gu Xian. Fearing for my safety, Cui Jiala had no choice but to come himself. When he reached the alley, he found me lying there barely conscious, my face obscured by blood, chest rising faintly as if each breath might be my last. Cui Jiala rushed forward in a fluster, his hands fumbling awkwardly as if unsure where to place them. "Ching ching. What's going on? Didn't you say you hired actors for this performance? Why did it turn out like this?" Zhao Jin clearly told me everything was fine, that this was all your own staged drama just to win favor. I let out a self-mocking laugh, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. Gu Xian was the driver's daughter who died in a car accident one day while taking her father to work. After that, my father brought Gu Xian to live with us, out of guilt towards Gu Xian's father. My parents treated her even better than they treated me, but Gu Xian was never satisfied. She put on a timid act at home, but behind the scenes, she used her father's death to torment me. To spare my father from more grief and guilt, I chose to endure it in silence, thinking Gu Xian was just acting out because she couldn't cope with the loss. Only after witnessing the outcome of my previous life did I realize that enduring in silence only leads to utter despair. In their minds, Gu Xian was a delicate figure whose cautious demeanor evoked protectiveness. With vacant eyes fixed on the pitch-black sky, my voice turned icy cold. "Does dispatching officers require Zhao Jin's personal authorization?" My words left Cui Jiala frozen in place. The crowd drawn by the police sirens looked at me with pity in their eyes. Hearing what I said, they turned their anger on Cui Jiala, pointing and shouting accusations. "What's wrong with you police? If it weren't for that good Samaritan calling you, this young girl might have been killed, too. When citizens report crimes, you don't even respond promptly. How can we ever trust you again? Are you cops really this irresponsible? You came alone. Standard procedure requires at least 2 officers per dispatch. Nothing even happened around here, so why are you by yourself?" Faced with the crowd's accusations, Chui Jiala grew even paler, his gaze shifting toward me with visible guilt. The sound of an ambulance siren approached as the paramedics carefully lifted me onto a stretcher. Chui Jiala, who had climbed into the ambulance with us, finally got a clear look at my face under the bright interior lights. The medical staff carefully cleaned the fine gravel from my forehead, as my head injury was quite severe. Chui Jiala stood by, lips pressed tightly together as he watched me, his eyes filled with guilt. After a preliminary examination of my injuries, the medical staff looked very grave. "The patient has suffered a head impact. We'll need to conduct a detailed examination at the hospital to assess the full extent." No sooner had the words been spoken than another medical staff member turned to Chui Jiala and asked, "Are you a family member of this patient?" Chui Jiala shook his head, and the medical staff grew anxious. "Then notify the family immediately. We don't yet have a clear picture of the head injury. What if we need surgical consent later? Who's going to sign for it?" Upon hearing the medical staff's words, Chui Jiala quickly pulled out his phone and dialed Zhao Jin's number. "My parents aren't in the country. They flew overseas yesterday to attend an auction, saying they were picking out a birthday gift for Gu Xian." The phone kept ringing, but no one ever picked up. Chui Jiala instinctively glanced at me, met my calm gaze, and guiltily explained, "Probably didn't hear it. I'll try again." Didn't hear it, most likely. After all, she's busy looking after my adopted sister Gu Xian. How could she possibly attend to anything else? After what felt like an eternity, the call finally connected. Zhao Jin's impatient voice came through the phone. "I'm still on duty. Don't call me unless it's important." Chui Jiala, afraid I might overhear, immediately covered the receiver and explained in a hushed tone, "Captain Zhao, something really bad has happened to Qingqing." On the other end of the line, Zhao Jin fell silent for a long moment. Suddenly, he let out a cold laugh. "Chui Jiala, what? Even you can be bought by her now? You're actually helping her put on this act?" Even though Chui Jiala was covering the receiver, Zhao Jin's voice still exploded in my ears. The memory of my past life flooded back, and the dizziness grew more intense. Chui Jiala quickly cut Zhao Jin off, his tone urgent. "I'm not lying to you. Qingqing is really in trouble. It's serious. If things take a turn for the worse, a family member will need to sign off. You need to get to City Hospital right away." Zhao Jin still refused to believe anything had actually happened to me, his tone hardening. "Even if she dies, it's none of my business. Now that her aunt and uncle are abroad, I'm the only family member left to accompany Qingqing. Gu Qing has nothing to do with me." The ambulance sped along, and in that confined space, Zhao Jin's voice was crystal clear. I closed my eyes briefly, hiding the sorrow in them. Whether in her past life or the present, Gu Xian's cautious demeanor has always earned her a certain special consideration from Zhao Jin, but given their respective positions, he couldn't make it too obvious. Yet whenever Gu Xian felt wronged or upset, regardless of whether it was actually my fault, Zhao Jin would turn cold toward me and pin all the blame on my shoulders. I thought the call had ended, but then Gu Xian's voice came through, tinged with hurt. "Brother Jin, has something happened to sister?" "It's alright, you're her fiancé, and mom and dad aren't here. You should go check on her right away." Then, Zhao Jin said softly to comfort her, "Why bother about her? She's nowhere near as important as you are. I can't leave you alone. Besides, she brought this on herself by stirring up trouble. Who else is there to blame?" Upon hearing the voice from the phone, Chui Jiala could no longer contain his fury and shouted, /Zhao Jin, you're nothing but scum. Is this how you treat Qingqing as her fiancé? I never should have trusted a word you said, Zhao Jin sneered, since you care about her so much, why don't you just become her fiancé yourself? She can't stand Qingqing, since you're taking her to your place, that works out perfectly, spares everyone the unpleasantness. Also, Qingqing's badly shaken up. I need to stay with her, so Gu Qing is your responsibility from now on. Don't bother me again." With that, Zhao Jin hung up. I ignored the fury on Chui Jiala's face, but even with my eyes closed, I couldn't suppress the overwhelming grief. I always knew they favored Gu Xian, but it still hurts to witness it in this moment. Consciousness slowly faded away until everything went completely dark. The nurse monitoring the heart rate monitor urgently called out, "Critical. The patient's heart rate keeps dropping. Start CPR immediately." When I slowly came to, the first thing I saw was Chui Jiala's haggard face. I tried to move, but a sharp pain shot through me, and I couldn't help crying out. Chui Jiala, who had been keeping watch by my bedside, was startled awake and quickly held me down, saying softly, Take it easy, you're still injured and need to rest properly. My lips parted as I struggled to speak. How long was I out? Chui Jiala carefully propped me up against the headboard, then handed me a glass of water. Have some water first. You've been unconscious for a week. Your heart nearly stopped, but thankfully we got you to the hospital in time for emergency treatment. I furrowed my brow. Had a whole week already passed? Chui Jiala looked at me as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he kept his mouth shut. 3 days after waking up, I learned from the nurse changing my bandages that when I was critically ill and needed surgery consent, Chui Jiala contacted my family. They hung up after just a few words and then stopped answering. In the end, it was Chui Jiala who took the risk and signed for me. After the surgery, he was the one who took care of me the whole time. My family never showed up. I leaned back against the bed, my eyes fixed unblinkingly on the world outside the window. Chui Jiala walked in through the doorway with our boxed meals in hand and gave me a wave. Hungry? Let's eat first. I didn't move, just looked at him and said calmly, no need to come back later. I'll be checking out of the hospital this afternoon. Chui Jiala gasped in disbelief. Are you out of your mind? You're still injured and need time to recover. I furrowed my brow and was about to speak when the hospital room door swung open, as 4 people entered through the doorway. A trace of mockery flickered in my eyes. After all this time, my biological parents finally decided to visit me. Zhao Jin's parents showed up out of nowhere. His father marched straight in, gave me a cursory glance, and started berating me. What's wrong with you? You're milking this minor injury to skip school for days. Just as Chui Jiala tried to defend me, his mother cut in sharply. Do you have any idea how much Xin was looking forward to you coming to her birthday party? But you had to be selfish, and she's still upset about it. The moment they walked in, they started scolding me. They didn't care at all about how much their daughter was hurting, they just thought I was throwing a tantrum. Not a single word of concern. Chui Jiala's face darkened. I let out a scornful laugh. Don't you know why I haven't been going to school or coming home? Gu Xian and Zhao Jin certainly do. In fact, I have Zhao Jin to thank for these injuries. My parents were stunned by my retort, and so were Zhao Jin's parents. 3. They couldn't understand what this had to do with Zhao Jin. My parents never expected their always well-behaved daughter to speak to them like that. You're right. I've always been the obedient daughter. Ever since Gu Xian came to live with us, I've been even more compliant, never once talking back to them. But my obedience never got me anywhere good. And I'm done playing that role. Dad snapped out of his thoughts, his face darkening instantly as he scolded me angrily. Gu Qing, ever since we brought Gu Xian home, you've been dissatisfied with everything. Hasn't Zhao Jin treated you well? It's because you keep picking on Xin that Zhao Jin shows her extra attention, for your sake. But you, nothing is ever good enough for you. Is this what you call being good to me? Being good to me means locking me in the basement during our engagement party and letting a bunch of thugs humiliate me. Being good to me means telling Chui Jiala that I staged everything myself, that there was no need to call the police, almost getting me killed in the end. This kind of goodness is something I can't accept. Chui Jiala couldn't hold back any longer and bluntly laid out every detail about me being stalked. After she finished, my mother looked embarrassed, hurried over to me, and said softly, Qing, Zhao Jin didn't mean any harm. You two have grown up together all these years, surely you know what kind of person he is. He was just worried about Xin in the heat of the moment. Since Xin has come to live with us, she's already in a vulnerable position. We can't make her feel neglected or uncomfortable at home. Zhao Jin's mother immediately chimed in from the side. It was Zhao Jin who told us you were fine. We had no idea it was this serious. I'll call him right now to come apologize to you. She immediately pulled out her phone and called Zhao Jin, scolding him the moment he answered. What's wrong with you? Qing nearly lost her life in this terrible incident. And you had the nerve to say she was fine. Get your ass to the hospital right now and apologize to Qing. Zhao Jin, who had just been scolded, froze for a few seconds before letting out a cold laugh. Mom, how could you fall for her tricks too? This is all just Gu Qing's self-orchestrated drama to win sympathy. Don't believe a word she says, though not on speakerphone. The voice rang startlingly clear in the silent room. His father's face flushed crimson with rage. Snatching the phone, he fixed Zhao Jin with a stern glare and said, it was you who told us Qing was fine and insisted we shouldn't interfere. That's why we left her alone in the hospital for days. Get your ass back here right now and apologize. Zhao Jin sneered. Fine, since you're all saying that, I'll come back and see for myself if Gu Qing really almost died. With that, he hung up the phone without another word. Zhao Jin's parents looked at me apologetically as they tried to explain on his behalf. Jin's just a bit slow on the uptake. Qing, please don't take it to heart." Ignoring their explanation, I asked coldly, "So when I was in emergency care, none of you came to sign for me because you believed Zhao Jin's story, is that it?" At these words, all four of them turned pale. Their eyes filled with guilt. I continued. "When I was critically ill and needed someone to sign the forms, you were busy comforting Gu Xian. During my entire hospital stay, you never once checked on me. Instead, you threw a cheerful birthday party for Gu Xian. I can't help but feel like I'm the adopted one, while Gu Xian is your real daughter and Zhao Jin's fiancé. Ever since my parents started showering Gu Xian with affection, I've become practically invisible." But Gu Xian wasn't satisfied. She played the victim not just in front of our parents, but also with Zhao Jin. True to form, Zhao Jin took the bait. After her repeated displays of vulnerability, he started siding with her and blaming me. Just as they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Mom took my hand, her voice choked with emotion. "No, you're a real daughter. I'm sorry we neglected you. Please don't be angry with me." I coldly withdrew my hand. "I'm not angry. How could I be angry when I don't even care?" Zhao Jin's mother chimed in hastily. "You'll always be Zhao Jin's fiancé. Our family has always considered you our future daughter-in-law." I raised an eyebrow at her. "Your approval doesn't mean others have to want it." Her face instantly stiffened. She seemed about to say something, but ultimately chose to remain silent. I scoffed inwardly. What could she possibly say? That her precious son abandoned his fiancé to comfort another woman? Or that he scolded his fiancé for being unreasonable, all over some other woman? The ward fell into an abrupt silence. The tension wasn't broken until Zhao Jin arrived. He pushed the door open with Gu Xian trailing behind him, then looked at me with a sneer in front of both families. "Looks like you're doing just fine. It's not nearly as serious as you're making it out to be." Hearing this, Zhao Jin's father was so enraged that he slapped Zhao Jin across the face. "You disgrace. This is your fiancé, your future family. How could you speak of her like that?" Zhao Jin was completely stunned by the blow, staring at his father in disbelief. Just then, Gu Xian gasped from behind, "Uncle, how could you hit Jin?" Zhao Jin's father turned a furious glare toward Gu Xian and snapped, "This is a family matter. You have no say in it." With that, he turned to Zhao Jin, his eyes blazing with fury. "As a police officer, it's understandable that you'd rescue Gu Xian. But you can't mislead others and ignore Gu Qing's cries for help. He was unconscious for a whole week, and you had the nerve to tell us it was all an act. Now you're standing there like you did nothing wrong." Gu Xian's eyes welled up with tears from Zhao Jin's father's scolding, making Zhao Jin's heart ache as he comforted her. "It's alright. This has nothing to do with you." Seeing him comforting Gu Xian, Zhao Jin's mother immediately pulled him to my bedside. "Apologize to Qingqing right now. Do you realize she almost died because no one could sign for her due to you?" The gentle expression Zhao Jin had just moments ago twisted into one of disgust as he faced me, sneering. "Why should I apologize? This whole thing was orchestrated by her from start to finish. She's the one who lied about being stalked and filed a false police report. This is her fault. I don't owe anyone an apology." Cui Jiala stepped forward at that moment, storming over to Zhao Jin with fury in his eyes. "Orchestrated, Zhao Jin. If I'd arrived 1 second later, Qingqing would have been dead." Her heart nearly stopped in the ambulance. I was terrified out of my mind. "And you have the nerve to call this some staged performance?" Cui Jiala shoved Zhao Jin aside, yanked open the bedside cabinet, and pulled out the medical report. "Take a good look at this. It's Qingqing's test results." Without waiting for Zhao Jin to react, they continued. "Even though Captain Zhao didn't order an investigation into this case, I looked into it on my own and found out the truth. Qingqing was indeed being followed by a group of human traffickers. They'd been tracking her route home from school, waiting for the right moment to kidnap her. If Qingqing hadn't fought back, and if no one had called the police, she would have faced only two outcomes, either being trafficked, or dying in Wutong Alley." As he finished speaking, Zhao Jin's face instantly turned pale, as if he couldn't believe what Cui Jiala had said, and he murmured under his breath, "That's not true. She clearly staged the whole thing herself." Cui Jiala glared at him angrily. "If you had even the slightest concern for Gu Qing, you would know that the bureau successfully arrested the traffickers 2 days ago." Hearing this, both sets of parents sighed, their eyes filled with guilt and self-reproach. Gu Xian, seeing everyone's remorseful expressions, flashed a hint of panic in her eyes. She rushed over to me, knelt on the ground, and burst into loud sobs. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have called Brother Jean to come save me. I'm sorry. Brother Jean told me to call him first if anything ever happened, so that's why I called him. I won't do it again. I'll never call Brother Jean again. It's all my fault." Watching Gu Xian's tearful outburst, I let out a soft chuckle. By putting on this pitiful act, she's winning everyone's sympathy and redirecting attention to herself, making them overlook everything else. Just as expected, my parents were already looking at Gu Xian with pained expressions, while Zhao Jin stepped forward to help her up, then turned to me with a guilt-ridden gaze and apologized in a low voice. Xin has nothing to do with this, it's all my fault, and I'll make it up to you. I shot him an icy glare and refused. No need, save your apologies, your concern and your goodwill for Gu Xian from now on. My demeanor left Zhao Jin flustered, and he gazed at me with visible unease. Ignoring him, I turned to face Zhao Jin's parents. Since everyone's here, let's just call off the engagement between Zhao Jin and me. As you can see, he clearly cares more about Gu Xian. Honestly, I think she'd be a much better match for him. The moment she finished speaking, Zhao Jin's mother cut in. What nonsense is this, Ching? Zhao Jin doesn't have those kinds of feelings for Gu Xian. He only sees her as a little sister. You're the only one he'd ever want to marry. Her own mother quickly added. That's right, Ching. Zhao Jin really does just treat Xin like a sister. And you know how difficult her situation at home is. We can't make things any harder for her there. I waved my hand dismissively, not wanting to hear their nonsense. It doesn't matter. What matters is I want to call off the engagement. You can let Gu Xian become Zhao Jin's fiancé or not. It's none of my business. Seeing my resolute expression, Zhao Jin's face showed panic. He quickly let go of Gu Xian's arm and said urgently, I don't have feelings for Gu Xian. I only see her as a younger sister. I just thought she needed some extra care. That's all. I closed my eyes and ignored them, and everyone could tell it wasn't the right time for discussion. Ever since I mentioned calling off the engagement that day, Zhao Jin came to the hospital every day to take care of me. Throughout that time, I didn't respond to anything he said to me. After a week of recovery, both families came to pick me up on the day I was discharged from the hospital. They reserved a table at Juzhai Pavilion to celebrate my discharge from the hospital. The table was filled with all my favorite dishes, and Zhao Jin personally peeled a shrimp and placed it in my bowl. I expressionlessly picked it up with my chopsticks and transferred it to Gu Xian's bowl. The atmosphere at the table instantly turned icy. Zhao Jin's expression stiffened, and he stopped serving me food. My parents didn't say much, but happily continued to host me. On the way, I went to the restroom and came out to find Gu Xian standing by the sink. Our eyes met in the mirror. Gu Xian turned her head and glared at me with pure hatred. What's wrong with wanting them to love me a little more? After all, I'm not their biological child. Deep down, their hearts are always with you. Meeting her disgusted gaze, I let out a scornful laugh. Gu Xian, I don't owe you anything, do I? They're my parents, my fiancé, yet they treat you, an outsider, better than they treat me. What more could you possibly be unhappy about? Gu Xian stared fiercely into my eyes and roared, they should have all eyes on me. When Zhao Jin noticed we hadn't returned for a long time, he left the private room to look for us. Hearing Gu Xian's cry, he hurried forward. As he walked, he called out, Xian. Hearing Zhao Jin's voice, Gu Xian's face instantly took on a pitiful expression. As Zhao Jin approached, he saw Gu Xian sitting on the ground with red-rimmed eyes. Zhao Jin quickly helped her up and led her outside, giving her a thorough once-over. Before Zhao Jin could say anything, Gu Xian choked back a sob and said, Brother Jin, I just wanted to have a proper talk with your sister, but she can't stand me. I never thought she'd actually push me. I'll always be an outsider. Listening to Gu Xian's tearful complaints, I couldn't help but laugh. Just before Zhao Jin approached, Gu Xian staged an act to make it look like I was bullying her. Sure enough, when Zhao Jin saw it, he looked at me with utter disappointment. Gu Qing, I've already taken the blame for the stalking incident. It had nothing to do with Xin. So why are you still picking on her? It's not like anything serious actually happened to you anyway. Let's just drop it here. With that, he took Gu Xian's hand and quickly walked away. Gu Xian turned back and shot me a smug look, as if to say, see, I won again. Just a little longer until graduation. Once I have my diploma, I can finally leave this house. I've been staying on campus instead of going home as graduation approaches. I'm really looking forward to life after graduation. I've already decided which city I want to work in. Zhao Jin came looking for me several times, but I refused to see him. Eventually, he stopped coming altogether. Someone leaked footage online showing how I was being stalked and how the police ignored my reports. Netizens dug up Zhao Jin's identity, and some even posted videos from when I was hospitalized. Zhao Jin faced a storm of angry backlash from internet users. The video spread like wildfire, gaining more and more traction, and Zhao Jin was suspended pending investigation. That very night, I was summoned back home. As soon as I walked in, Gu Xian confronted me, furious and flustered. Gu Qing, you can't just leak these videos because you have a grudge against Jin. Look what you've done. He's been suspended and is being torn apart online. My parents and Zhao Jin were sitting on the sofa, their faces grim and silent. Zhao Jin stood up and asked me, did you leak the video? Seeing their expressions, I found it increasingly absurd. You're a police officer, even if they're brainless. Shouldn't you know better? I was beaten within an inch of my life. How could I possibly have had the strength to record anything? 5. Besides, aren't these the facts? Were they wrong to criticize you? Zhao Jin finally caught on, his face darkening with displeasure. During this period, he'd been subjected to all sorts of vicious insults. The language was truly foul. Gu Xian, unwilling to concede, resorted to emotional blackmail against me. He's your fiancé. You two are a team. You need to clear this up online and let brother Jin have some peace. My parents on the couch turned to look at me, their faces full of concern. Qing, you and Zhao Jin are engaged. You'll be family soon. You should be thinking about what's best for him. I stared coldly at my parents sitting on the couch, then shifted my gaze to Zhao Jin. First, when we were at the hospital, I already stated I was calling off the engagement. I wasn't asking for your permission, I was informing you. Second, his suspension was due to his own work errors. It has nothing to do with me. Third, what you've seen online is the truth. I won't offer any explanations for Zhao Jin's sake. Also, I'll be staying on campus until graduation. With that, I turned and walked out of the house. 3 days later, the police concluded their investigation. Zhao Jin was fired, and Cui Jiala was demoted, jobless. Zhao Jin shut himself in his room day after day, drowning his sorrows in drink. With Zhao Jin no longer protecting Gu Xian, all those she had bullied came back for revenge. There's more to the story. The police department's investigation into Zhao Jin's rescue operation for Gu Xian has yielded more detailed findings. When Zhao Jin arrived with his team, they found only Gu Xian with her clothes in disarray. He stayed to comfort her instead of immediately pursuing the fleeing thugs. It wasn't until today that these thugs were arrested and interrogated, finally bringing the truth to light. 6. As it turned out, Gu Xian had orchestrated the whole thing herself, just to prove to me that she meant more to Zhao Jin than I did. But what I never expected was being followed that very night. After my last class that afternoon, I spotted Zhao Jin standing in front of the teaching building. He saw me approaching, his face filled with remorse as he said, Qing, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have believed Gu Xian's words and ended up hurting you like this. Holding my textbooks, I looked at him with calm composure. I don't accept your apology, and I won't forgive you. The moment he showed favoritism towards Gu Xian, the moment he personally pushed me into the hands of those thugs in our previous life, that's when forgiveness became impossible. Some wounds run too deep for a simple apology to heal. Remembering how things ended in my past life, I closed my eyes and suppressed the rising bitterness. Zhao Jin, why did you choose to save Gu Xian that day? Were you afraid you'd regret it for the rest of your life if she died there? And then you dragged others into your atonement. Zhao Jin stared at me in shock, his eyes filled with complex emotions. Ha, I sneered. I walked past Zhao Jin and headed toward the dormitory. Zhao Jin watched me walk away, no longer having the heart to explain. After graduating from university, I chose to work down south. One day after work, I received a call from Zhao Jin's mother. She pleaded with me over the phone, her voice filled with sorrow, begging me to come back and see Zhao Jin one last time. Ever since I graduated and chose to work on the other side of the city, he started drinking every day, which led to him developing stomach cancer. It wasn't discovered until it had reached an advanced stage. I listened to the sobbing on the other end of the line with an expressionless face and said indifferently, Auntie, I'm sorry, but we have nothing to do with each other anymore, and I'm very busy. Then came the sound of Zhao Jin's mother shouting, followed by the shattering of a cup hitting the floor. I frowned and hung up the phone. I next heard about Gu Xian at a class reunion. Over dinner, they were discussing how the thugs Gu Xian had hired for that staged incident had been released. After being exposed and driven from his home, Gu Xian lost Zhao Jin's protection and soon fell prey to those thugs. They unleashed all their pent-up rage from years of imprisonment on Gu Xian, leading to an inevitable conclusion. Listening to their conversation, I picked up the glass of red wine from the table and took a sip. A toast to myself, may I navigate the long road ahead with resilience. Story 2. It's the 4th year of my secret relationship with my uncle, who is a family friend. On my 22nd birthday, He promised to get the marriage certificate with me and make our relationship public, but that day, I waited in the restaurant until the clock struck 12. Instead, I received a video of him passionately kissing a hot girl. I knew that girl. Her name was Chin Xia, my senior sister, and a sex addiction sufferer. It was the same in my previous life. After receiving the video, I went crazy and rushed to the bar to ask Liang Zhe for an explanation, but he just smiled and casually pulled me into his arms, whispering softly, "Jia, I've already given all my love to you, we shouldn't be too greedy, should we?" That night, I exposed the fact that I was in a relationship with Liang Zhe. I originally thought that even if I became infamous, I would go down with him, but I underestimated Liang Zhe. With just one sentence, "Jia, you're not well." Everyone said that I had delusional disorder. Later, Liang Zhe imprisoned me in this Xiangshan villa. He always tried to persuade me, saying, "Jia, sex and love can be separated." Finally, one night, I set the entire villa on fire, but I never expected that. I was reborn and returned to the day of my 22nd birthday. 1. Student Jiang, are you sure there's no problem with the itinerary in 3 days? I glanced at the message sent by my senior brother Lin Guannan. Just after I replied, "No problem," there came the sound of the door opening downstairs. It was Liang Zhe who had come back. He was also accompanied by Chin Xia, my senior sister. She was still wearing the bright and enchanting red short skirt from the video she sent me last night. Her long wavy hair was draped over her shoulders. The two of them sat down on the sofa. Chin Xia's fair and beautiful left foot was placed on Liang Zhe's legs. She was seducing him intentionally or unintentionally. Liang Zhe slightly frowned, but he just said softly, "Don't act like a slut here." Chin Xia wasn't annoyed. She smiled and hooked her hands around Liang Zhe's neck. "Mr. Liang, I've sprained my foot. Can't you be a bit gentler?" Liang Zhe sneered, raised his right hand, and forcefully pinched Chin Xia's chin. "Do you think you're Rujia? Chin Xia, you'd better recognize your own status." As the last syllable fell, Chin Xia straightened her body. Liang Zhe's fingertips slid across her chin and neck. Finally, he grabbed her neck with one hand, leaned close to her ear, and said, "Ask the family doctor to take a look at your sprained ankle. If there's nothing wrong, leave here. If Rujia sees you, you'll bear the consequences." After saying the warning and threatening words, Liang Zhe pushed Chin Xia away, slowly unbuttoned the cuffs of his shirt, rolled up his sleeves to his arms, and then entered the kitchen, leaving Chin Xia where she was. Chin Xia stared at Liang Zhe's back and clenched her fists unwillingly. When she raised her eyes, she saw me standing at the corner of the second floor. There was jealousy and resentment in her eyes. If I hadn't been reborn, I think at this moment, I would have already had a fierce argument with Liang Zhe and Chin Xia. Instead of just watching it as a play, the moment I was reborn yesterday, the video in my hand happened to freeze on the picture of them passionately kissing. At that time, I still had lingering hatred and thought about strangling Liang Zhe to death, but reason prevailed. In my previous life, with just one sentence from him, "Rujia's mental state is a bit abnormal. The doctor said she has delusional disorder." Everything collapsed overnight. I became the pervert in everyone's mouth who was shameless and delusional about her own uncle. Everyone spurned me, and I was removed from the family register. Finally, I was secretly imprisoned in the Xiangshan villa by Liang Zhe. The Liang family has deep-rooted influence in Beijing. I couldn't fight against Liang Zhe, so, in this life, I just want to leave Liang Zhe, and live a stable life. 2. Chin Xia still didn't dare to provoke Liang Zhe directly. After the family doctor sprayed medicine for her, she left, but the strange number on my phone sent me 2 more text messages. This time, Chin Xia didn't hide her identity anymore. She said frankly, "Jiang Rujia, do you really think Liang Zhe loves you? A prodigal son is a prodigal son. Do you really hope he can settle down? You've really stayed in the ivory tower for too long. You're so stupid." I couldn't help but be lost in thought. The corners of my lips curled into a sarcastic smile. Liang Zhe is a family friend of my mother. 10 years ago, the female secretary my father was having an affair with got pregnant and came to my mother to ask for a proper status. It became known to everyone. My mother was so angry that she vomited blood. Finally, she couldn't bear the betrayal and jumped off a building to commit suicide. After her death, my father, filled with remorse, forced the secretary's child to have an abortion. While they were arguing in the car, they both died. Overnight, I became an orphan, and my uncles and aunts all kept their distance from me. It was Liang Zhe who took care of my mother's funeral and brought me back to the Liang family. For a full 12 years, at that time, Liang Zhe was a well-known prodigal son in the circle, with countless women around him. But after he started raising me, he restrained all his temper, cut off all his romantic relationships, quit smoking, and even got rid of his dissolute habit of always getting drunk in bars. He showed me his best side. As long as I was around, even for the gatherings organized by his friends, Liangze would greet them in advance, saying, "Don't smoke during the gathering. Replace all the alcohol with juice, and don't swear either." His friends were always amused by this, but they still did as he said. Everyone knew that I was the one Liangze protected, his most precious little niece. No one dared to provoke me, no one dared to offend me, and no one dared to like me either, until I turned 18. On my coming-of-age ceremony, Liangze gave me a beautiful pink diamond necklace, which was worth a fortune and was unique, but I still couldn't get excited about it. Liangze also noticed my mood and thought that someone had bullied me. He checked all my whereabouts of that day countless times, asked the bodyguard who was secretly following me, and questioned the servants in the villa. When he still couldn't find anything wrong, he frowned. He symbolically knocked on the door of my bedroom. When he pushed the door open and saw me lying on the bed with a flushed face, he was slightly taken aback. 3. It was already past 3 o'clock in the morning at that time. Liangze snatched my phone away. After seeing the chat records between me and a senior with a cold face, a gloomy aura emanated from his whole body. I added the senior after getting to know him in a club. He wasn't as good-looking as Liangze, but he was very interesting. Every night, he would tell me all kinds of little stories to make me happy. Even when he saw the fallen leaves on the road, he would share it with me. He was just confessing his love to me. After Liangze read it, he was so angry that he laughed. He blocked the senior directly with smooth movements. "Jiang Rujia, you actually like someone like him." I don't know what stimulated me that day. I scolded Liangze for a long time, scolding him for his strong control, for meddling in my affairs, scolding him for blocking all my chances of having a romantic relationship. By the end, my voice was choked with sobs, and tears fell uncontrollably. Liangze's whole face turned dark. He put his hands on my shoulders and asked through gritted teeth, "Do you want to fall in love?" I was too scared to answer with red eyes, but later, Liangze started chasing me, secretly. In the spring festival when I was 18, Liangze and I got together secretly, naturally. To the outside world, we were still in the relationship of uncle and niece. Behind closed doors, we sank into love soberly. It was so easy to fall in love with Liangze. That year, for my New Year's wish, Liangze promised me, when he took power, when he had the ability to block all the gossip for me, he would make our relationship public and tell the whole world, "Liangze likes Jiang Rujia." But later, all the hardships I endured were brought to me by him. 4. Jejia, why did you get up so early today? Liangze's gentle voice pulled me back from my memories. He looked at me, and his beautiful peach blossom eyes were filled with deep affection. He had just come out of the kitchen. The fragrance of the cooked porridge had already wafted out. As Liangze put down the sleeves he had rolled up, he walked up to me and habitually pulled me into his arms, with his chin resting on my shoulder. "Something urgent came up at the company yesterday, and I missed our Jejia's birthday, so I got up early to cook porridge for Jejia as an apology. I'll rearrange the best restaurant and celebrate with Jejia again in a few days. Is that okay?" he whispered in my ear. His voice was so beautiful. In bed, he was also so gentle and tender. Worrying that I would be in pain and afraid that I would cry, he treated me like a delicate doll, afraid that if he used too much force, I would break. So, in the past 4 years, he had never truly been satisfied. So, in the corners I didn't know about, he vented his sexual desires on another person, wildly and horribly. I always remember. On the day I exposed Liangze's true face, he was sitting in the booth of the bar, smiling casually. His slender fingers held a cigarette, and the tip was still glowing red. His gaze fell on Qin Xia. He pressed the cigarette but hard on her thigh. She let out a cry of pain, but her eyes were filled with lust. I took a step back in shock, but Liangze still smiled and said softly, "I'm really unlucky. Jejia found out. I pretended for 12 years, and now it's all back to square one." He walked closer to me. He said that he loved me the most and only me. Qin Xia was just a worthless thing and wouldn't become an obstacle between us. He said, "Rujia, sex and love can be separated." He couldn't bear to do those dirty things to me, but the evil factors were screaming, and he couldn't control it. So, he gave his sexual desires to Qin Xia. Qin Xia was a sex addiction sufferer. They took what they needed from each other. I didn't want to listen and couldn't accept it. I smashed all the wine bottles on the table like a madman. Liangze just stood aside and let me vent, until I was tired and sat down in a daze. Liangze took out a tissue and gently wiped the tears on my face with pity in his eyes. He said, Jie, what else are you not satisfied with? My heart is all yours. We shouldn't be too greedy, should we? That night, I exposed the fact that Liangze had cheated on me during our relationship. I knew I couldn't touch Liangze, but even if I became infamous, I wanted to drag him down with me. But I never thought that he would ask the doctor to issue a certificate stating that I had delusional disorder. He said that he and Qin Xia were in a legitimate boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. He said that he didn't measure his actions properly and gave me room for fantasy. Overnight, Liangze was cleared of all blame, and I was sent to a mental hospital as a mentally ill person. I underwent 3 months of hypnosis and electroshock therapy. I even doubted myself, that I was really sick, but no. After the commotion died down, Liangze secretly took me out of the mental hospital and imprisoned me in the Xiangshan villa. He asked me, Jie, have you learned your lesson? Only then did I know that those days were just a small punishment he gave me, a punishment for being disobedient. 5. Seeing that I didn't speak for a long time, Liangze smiled helplessly. It seems that Jie is still angry. What should I do then? How about letting Jie beat me up to let off some steam? I just saw Qin Xia. Upon hearing this, a trace of displeasure flashed in Liangze's eyes, but he quickly hid it. His beautiful fingers played with my hair. The company has a project recently, and the research direction is related to sex addiction. Qin Xia is one of the experimental subjects. We worked through the night last night, and she wasn't in a good state. She sent me back. He said it casually. I couldn't help but smile mockingly, but in the end, I just replied with an The next second, Liangze's private phone rang inappropriately. As expected, it should be Qin Xia, but he didn't seem to care. After calmly rejecting the call, he smiled and was about to lead me downstairs when holding my hand. The phone rang again, over and over. Liangze frowned, his face darkened slightly, and he was obviously a bit impatient. Finally, he used the excuse of serving me porridge and entered the kitchen to answer the phone. It was noisy on the other side, but I could still vaguely hear, Qin Xia, can Liangze satisfy your strong sex addiction? Why don't we play together? Mr. Liang, save me. You want Liangze to save you? Are you crazy, Qin Xia? He's accompanying his little princess right now. No, please, don't. Qin Xia's humble cries for help and screams came out of the receiver. Immediately after, Liangze clenched his fist and smashed it on the countertop with a bang. He hung up the phone, and his expression was extremely ugly. He might not like Qin Xia that much, but his possessiveness and control are stronger than anyone else's. He will never allow others to covet what belongs to him, even if it's just a plaything. I quietly walked from outside the kitchen to the dining table, pulled out a chair, and sat down. When Liangze came out of the kitchen with the porridge, he suppressed his emotions and had a smile on his face. Jie, you can have your breakfast first. There's something at the company that I need to deal with. I'll be back soon. As he said that, he gently rubbed my head. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, I stopped him. Uncle, when I was 18, you promised me that we would make our relationship public and get the marriage certificate when I was 22. Were you lying to me? I smiled at him, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. Every day after I was imprisoned in the Xiangshan villa in my previous life, I kept asking myself that if I hadn't discovered Liangze's dirty side, would we have lived our whole lives like an ordinary couple, treating each other with respect? Liangze was slightly stunned, but in the end, he still didn't give me an answer. Qin Xia called again. He left a sentence, don't think too much, pretending to be calm, and then picked up his coat and left. I lowered my eyes and stared at the bowl of porridge in front of me, which was still steaming. I couldn't help but smile mockingly. How could there be someone who could separate sex and love so clearly? Not long after, Qin Xia sent me another message. Jiang Rujia, you see, Liangze still chose me. You and Liangze are not the same kind of people. You should be grateful that I let you see his true face. If I had understood this earlier in my previous life, why did I have to get entangled with such a bad person? Fortunately, it's not too late in this life. The reminder for the plane ticket that Lin Guanan booked for me also popped up. It was a ticket to the United States in 3 days. 6. When Liangze arrived at the nightclub, Qin Xia was being pressed down on the bar table by 2 men. Her skirt was torn open with a large hole, and she would expose herself if she wasn't careful. When she looked at Liangze with tears in her eyes, he just sneered. Her clumsy trick was seen through by him at a glance. Liangze hooked his finger. Immediately, a row of bodyguards appeared behind him. The 2 men quickly let go of the hands that were holding Qin Xia down and swallowed nervously. Everyone in Beijing knew the reputation of Liang Zhe. He was ruthless and cruel in his methods. Mr. Liang, we were just joking with Miss Qin. The man's legs were shaking with fear. Liang Zhe gave a low laugh. Just a joke. The two men nodded repeatedly, afraid that if they were a second slower, they would die a horrible death. Qin Xia's eyes were red at the corners, and she looked at Liang Zhe helplessly. Mr. Liang, save me. Liang Zhe put his index finger to his lips. The bodyguards behind him immediately understood and pulled the two men into the next room, ignoring their pleas for mercy, until the heart-rending voices came from the next room. It was Miss Qin who told us to do this. She paid us, Mr. Liang. We were wrong and we won't dare to do it again, Mr. Liang. Liang Zhe still stood there towering over them. When he looked down at Qin Xia with a disdainful gaze, her face was already deathly pale, and her thin body was shaking uncontrollably. Mr. Liang, I didn't, she said in a trembling voice. Qin Xia, I warned you, don't play such useless tricks on me. He sneered and curled his lips. His well-defined fingers took out the phone from Qin Xia's bag, after opening it with ease. When he saw the messages Qin Xia sent to Jiang Rujia, his expression turned gloomy, and an extremely dangerous storm brewed in his deep black eyes like ink. No wonder he always felt that Jiang Rujia's mood was a bit abnormal today. No wonder Jiang Rujia suddenly asked him that question when he was leaving home. He loved Jiang Rujia, so he gave her his heart and his best side. He was afraid that Jiang Rujia would know about his disgusting sexual perversions and his promiscuous past. So he was extremely cautious and walked on thin ice, pretending for 12 years. He was already preparing to propose to Jiang Rujia. He had already paved all the roads for their future, and even the ring and wedding dress he designed with his own hands were almost finished. Now, Qin Xia had ruined all of this. The atmosphere in the private room was oppressive. When Qin Xia tried to get closer to Liang Zhe, he grabbed her neck tightly with one hand, his eyes bloodshot. Qin Xia, you really deserve to die. Liang Zhe's strength was great. Qin Xia's face turned red from being choked, and she mumbled words of. She begged Liang Zhe to spare her, with tears in her eyes and a sobbing voice. Mr. Liang, I was too greedy. I wanted more. I was wrong. I will explain it to Miss Fong. I will tell her that I hired people to stage all of this on my own. Mr. Liang, please, spare me. After a long time, when Qin Xia was almost out of breath and on the verge of suffocation, Liang Zhe slowly released his hand in satisfaction, threw her onto the sofa beside him, and then loosened his tie. This is your last chance. Don't let me find out that you provoke Rujia again. After saying that, he pinched Qin Xia's face with one hand and tore open her top with the other, like a wild beast releasing its nature. He took what he wanted without caring about the life or death of the person beneath him. 7. As soon as I arrived at the laboratory, I saw Lin Guannan. He was wearing a white work uniform and standing in front of the experimental equipment, recording the data. He was my senior brother, 2 years older than me. He was a well-known cold and aloof campus heartthrob in the school. He came from a scholarly family, and he received a full scholarship every year. During his 2 years of postgraduate study, 3 of his papers were published in top SCI journals, and he was considered an outstanding figure in the field of biology. After Lin Guannan finished recording the data and looked up to see me, he was slightly taken aback. After pushing his gold-rimmed glasses, he finished dealing with the final work before walking up to me. You're early. It's not early. The time is just right. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the tutor booked a place in a restaurant in Beijing and organized a gathering specifically to see me and Lin Guannan off. A month ago, a biological research project was launched in the United States, with a total of 2 places available. It was certain that Lin Guannan would participate, but the remaining place hadn't been decided for a long time, and the application I submitted hadn't been approved either, until yesterday. Lin Guannan waited for me outside the restaurant all night. Then I knew that the place was for me. However, it was rejected by Liang Zhe. He intercepted my application, and the tutor didn't receive it. And for the email messages that the tutor originally sent to me, Liang Zhe replied on my behalf. When Lin Guannan showed me the screenshots, I was almost stunned in place in shock. Teacher, I'm sorry. I'm very happy to have your support, but I'm sorry that I can't go to the United States. I'm going to get married to my boyfriend after graduation, so I may not be able to spend time in the laboratory. The tutor sent a long message to persuade me. He hoped that I could think clearly and that there was no need to give up my ideals for marriage. Liang Zhe still replied, Teacher, thank you for the opportunity, but I love my boyfriend very much. After reading it, I was filled with anger and wished I could strangle Liang Zhe. What right did he have to decide my future for me? If it wasn't for Lin Guannan's appreciation of my talent, who was half a teacher to me, he wouldn't have gone to great lengths to find me. Lin Guannan also wanted to know an answer. He knew that I could stay up all night for accurate experimental data, and that I could search through all the data in the library day and night to publish a paper in a top journal, and even got locked in the library by mistake for a whole night, so he didn't believe it. That I would reject participating in this project that could enhance my self-worth for the so-called marriage. What's more, the project wasn't indefinite. In my previous life, Lin Guannan had also looked for me, but at that time, I was immersed in the pain of being betrayed by Liang Zhe and turned a blind eye. Fortunately, I didn't miss it this time. 8. What I didn't expect was that I would meet Liang Zhe and Qin Xia in the restaurant, when she was arm in arm with Liang Zhe and walking towards us. I was still walking and discussing the experiment he did just now with Lin Guannan, with a smile on my face. When we mentioned the complex data, Lin Guannan frowned. When I couldn't help but raise my hand to tease him a bit, Liang Zhe's gentle voice came, Jia. Suddenly, I stopped in my tracks and looked up to meet Liang Zhe's eyes, which were filled with complex emotions. There was a momentary silence. Qin Xia quietly withdrew her hand and took a step back silently, maintaining a safe distance from Liang Zhe. However, the strangulation mark on her neck was particularly obvious, as if someone had strangled her neck with something. After a long confrontation, Liang Zhe was the first to break the silence. He took a few steps and walked up to me. When he was about to gently tuck the hair scattered in front of my ear behind my ear in an affectionate gesture, I couldn't help but take a small step back. His hand stopped in midair, and a moment of surprise flashed in his eyes, but soon he put on a casual smile again. You're having a meal with your classmates, why didn't you tell your uncle? I replied calmly. I was afraid of affecting uncle's work. Liang Zhe smiled softly, and his inquiring gaze fell on Lin Guannan beside me. Jia, there are a lot of people with ill intentions outside. You have to keep your eyes open. Don't be so naive as to be deceived. Lin Guannan curled his lips and sneered. Both the Liang family and the Lin family used to live in the same compound. They often saw each other. According to seniority, Lin Guannan should call Liang Zhe uncle, but he was never afraid of Liang Zhe. The backgrounds of the two were evenly matched. Rujia, I'll give you the same advice. There are always some crazy people in this world who like to try to control you and possess you in the name of doing what's good for you. So, don't trust anyone easily. Don't trust anyone, no matter how close the relationship is. What do you think, Mr. Liang? As Lin Guannan spoke, he looked directly into Liang Zhe's eyes without hesitation. The smile on Liang Zhe's lips disappeared instantly, and his expression turned gloomy. In the past, because I loved Liang Zhe, I regarded all this control and possessiveness as the affection between lovers, and I even enjoyed it. Because of this, I could be very sure that Liang Zhe loved me too. In this way, he wouldn't cheat and wouldn't become another version of my father. But I never expected that, in Liang Zhe's eyes, extreme love and crazy lust could be completely separated. Finally, the tutor arrived. The two people who were at loggerheads finally suppressed their emotions. Liang Zhe insisted on having the meal with us. Lin Guannan didn't refuse either. But everyone was sensible enough to keep silent about the fact that this meal was a farewell dinner. 9. The reason why Liang Zhe secretly rejected the place for me was very simple. The Liang family's status was deeply rooted. Their grandparents were all high-ranking government officials, and their entry and exit were strictly regulated. As long as I went abroad, he couldn't continue to treat me like a caged bird in Beijing and control me in the name of love. This meal was eaten in a oppressive atmosphere. Liang Zhe regarded the others as air. His slender and beautiful fingers slowly peeled the shrimps and picked the crabs for me. His actions were considerate and gentle. Some classmates whispered, "It's true that Mr. Liang treats Jiang Rujia like a little princess as rumored." I thought it was all just rumors. Upon hearing this, the gloom on Liang Zhe's face finally dissipated a bit, and the corners of his lips curled slightly. He put the peeled shrimp into my bowl again. Lin Guannan raised his eyes and glanced at me with a calm expression. I felt a sense of pressure. Finally, I made an excuse to go to the bathroom. I just wanted to get some fresh air. But as soon as I went in, Qin Xia followed. She quietly locked the door of the bathroom. When I heard the sound and turned my head, before I could react, Qin Xia slapped me hard, and then pulled my hair back. I was forced to tilt my head back in pain, and tears welled up in my eyes instantly. Qin Xia, are you crazy? Qin Xia's emotions were obviously agitated. She roared at me with her eyes wide open. I am crazy, Jiang Rujia. I don't understand. Even though Liang Zhe is like this, why don't you leave him? Why are you still lingering around? Why? Do you know that he had sex with me again today? He said he likes having sex with me. Do you know that only I can satisfy him? And you, what can you bring to him? Her voice suddenly rose sharply, and her eyes were filled with unwillingness and resentment. When I first met Qin Xia, she wasn't like this. She was a child from the mountains and a student my mother sponsored before her death. After my mother passed away, I never let the sponsorship for her stop. At the freshman orientation of the university, she recognized me. At that time, she was sunny and bright. And she was the top student and the most beautiful girl in the acting department of Peking University. In her sophomore year, she was invited by a film director to join a film crew, but it was from that time on, Qin Xia changed. In my previous life, Qin Xia also kept provoking me like this. Later, I found out, the director didn't invite her to the crew but gave her to Liang Zhe. Since then, she became Liang Zhe's exclusive plaything. At first, Qin Xia resisted, but gradually, she was also attracted by the luxurious and indulgent life. As long as she could make Liang Zhe happy, with a wave of Liang Zhe's hand, the money he gave her was more than she could earn in a lifetime of hard work. Qin Xia indulged in it. Her desires grew bigger and bigger. She delusionally wanted to replace me and naively hoped to become Liang Zhe's wife. But Liang Zhe, in his heart, he always only cared about me. What does your business have to do with me? Can you not drag me into your disgusting affairs? I frowned and tried to break free from Qin Xia's hand. She suddenly gave a hard shake and pushed me again. Has nothing to do with you, Jiang Rujia. Liang Zhe likes you. He's going to marry you. Do you know that? I'm about to lose Liang Zhe. My lower back directly hit the sink, and I couldn't help but groan in pain. Qin Xia, do you like being someone's dog so much? Qin Xia was stunned for a moment, and then she curled her lips mockingly. But it's Liang Zhe, Jiang Rujia, we're different. Without Liang Zhe, you can still stand at the top of the pyramid, but without Liang Zhe, I'm just an ant that anyone can step on. As she spoke, a touch of sadness slowly appeared in her eyes. So, Jiang Rujia, give Liang Zhe to me. Okay. Qin Xia's eyes suddenly turned red and were gradually filled with tears. Big, crystal clear tears rolled down her distorted cheeks. The next moment, she lost control of her emotions and knelt heavily on the ground. Miss Jiang, I'm begging you. I can't live without Liang Zhe. Please. I pursed my lips and furrowed my brows. Just as I was about to speak, Qin Xia seemed to hear the hurried footsteps outside. She raised her hand and slapped herself hard again and again. Miss Jiang, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to destroy your relationship with Mr. Liang. I was possessed by evil. I hired people to fake those videos and photos. Miss Jiang, can you forgive me this time? I won't dare to do it again. Suddenly, I stood there in a daze. The door of the bathroom was kicked open. It was Liang Zhe. He quickly walked up to me and completely ignored Qin Xia, who was kneeling on the ground and crying. When he saw the red mark on my left face, his brows suddenly furrowed tightly. His eyes were full of worry. Stay away from her in the future. When Qin Xia has an attack, her emotions will be unstable and she's prone to anger. I'm afraid you'll get accidentally hurt. I looked up at Liang Zhe. At the moment our eyes met, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Liang Zhe's act was too real. If Qin Xia hadn't gone crazy first, I would almost be unable to tell what was real and what was fake. At this moment, I just wanted to leave Beijing and Liang Zhe as soon as possible. 10. In the following 2 days, Liang Zhe almost spent all his time with me, as if he was making up for his absence on my birthday. It seemed that he was also planning something. I didn't deliberately show any dissatisfaction either. I accepted all the kindness he showed me. Maybe I was too well behaved. Liang Zhe seemed to sense a vague uneasiness. He often woke up from nightmares at night, and then he would always gently hold me in his arms and murmur in my ear, Jejia, you won't leave me, right? Everyone who approaches me has a purpose. Only Jejia truly cares about me, right? Jejia, I only have you. I love you the most. Let's be together forever, okay? I pretended to be still asleep and didn't respond. Liang Zhe held me even tighter. With a sick and paranoid voice, he said, Jejia, I love you. I would even die as long as you're happy, but you can't stop loving me. I can't understand Liang Zhe. If he really loved me, how could he have allowed me to bear the infamous reputation of falling in love with my uncle and being shameless in my previous life? How could he have been willing to send me to a mental hospital to be tortured? He said he loved me in a high-sounding manner. In fact, the only person he loves is himself. Soon, the third day arrived. There were still 5 hours until the flight to the United States. Ling Guanan sent me a message. Do you need me to pick you up? I stood at the corner of the second floor and looked down. Liang Zhe was coming out of the study and planning to go out. in the past 2 days, he had been suppressing his desires. Afraid of scaring me, every time, he only stopped at a kiss, just tasting it slightly, not having been fully satisfied and released with me. His emotions gradually became irritable. When he looked up and saw me, his hand that was putting on the windbreaker stopped. He curved his lips and smiled, just like every time in the past. I'm going to the company and will be back soon. I'll make the braised fish that Jeje likes for dinner tonight, okay? His voice was gentle and pleasant, unfortunately. It was another complete lie. After that day, Chin Xia still kept harassing me, sending all kinds of intimate photos of her and Liang Zhe, some of which were extremely explicit. Her white and tender body was almost covered with crisscrossing whip marks. At first, she just provoked me as usual. Later, she started going crazy and humbly begging, Jiang Rujia, I'm begging you, I can't live without Liang Zhe. Liang Zhe hasn't come to see me for 2 days. I can give up everything. But I can't live without Liang Zhe. I'll die without him. I'm having an attack. Rujia, I'm begging you. I only want to be with Liang Zhe. Just Liang Zhe, please. But just now, her provocative message came again. Jiang Rujia, look, it's only been 2 days. As long as I crook my finger, Liang Zhe can't resist. He and I are the most suitable for each other. Seeing that I didn't respond for a long time, Liang Zhe slightly frowned. Just as he was about to walk towards me, I calmly raised the corners of my lips. Okay, uncle. Liang Zhe smiled indulgently and helplessly, stopping in his tracks. Jeje has been quite fond of calling me uncle these 2 days. You weren't willing to before. I replied indifferently. People always change. Uncle will change. And so will I. Suddenly, Liang Zhe was stunned, and his eyes were filled with complex emotions. His thin lips opened and closed, as if he was about to say something. But I spoke first. No matter how we change, I'm still me, and uncle is still uncle, right? After saying that, I smiled and looked at Liang Zhe. Liang Zhe sighed. Jeje is still so naughty. Stop talking tongue twisters. Go back to your room and rest for a while. I'll be back soon. Goodbye, uncle. I still smiled, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. The moment the villa door closed, my smile faded. Liang Zhe, I hope we never see each other again. 11. On the way out of the Shangshan villa. The uneasiness in Liang Zhe's heart became more and more obvious. In the past 2 days, although Jiang Rujia was by his side, he could still vaguely feel that there was something between them. Finally, he sent a message to his assistant, check all the people and things that Rujia has come into contact with during this period. When he arrived at the nightclub, Chin Xia was wearing a revealing bunny girl outfit, kneeling on the ground with a blushing face, waiting for him. Her eyes were filled with explicit desire. She was almost driven crazy by her sex addiction. She had thought about solving it by herself and even considered finding another man, but she didn't do it. She was afraid that if she got dirty, Liang Zhe would really abandon her completely. Mr. Liang, when Chin Xia saw Liang Zhe appear, she seemed to have grasped at a straw. Liang Zhe curled his lips and smiled softly. He slowly unbuttoned his clothes, rolled up his sleeves, and then bent down to pinch Chin Xia's chin. Did you hit Rujia in the restaurant last time? His voice was very soft. Upon hearing this, Chin Xia couldn't stop trembling. I didn't. I just explained to Miss Jiang about harassing her. I didn't dare to touch her. The next moment, Liang Zhe directly slapped Chin Xia. With great force, she was knocked to the side, and finger marks immediately appeared on her face. Chin Xia, just because I didn't mention it doesn't mean I don't know. Rujia is my bottom line. After saying that, Chin Xia cried and kept saying that she didn't dare. Liang Zhe grabbed her neck and pressed her onto the bed, violently venting his desires. He was dirty and despicable, but he couldn't taint Jiang Rujia. In his heart, Jiang Rujia was a little princess who should live in an ivory tower and never come into contact with such disgusting things in her life. He also couldn't let her know about his unsightly side. Suddenly, the assistant's phone rang inappropriately. Liang Zhe impatiently pulled himself out of his lust and picked up the phone with one hand. Chin Xia underneath him was still trying to please him and attempting to make him hang up the phone. He curled his lips and smiled. He originally wanted to reject the call, but accidentally slid to the answer button. Chin Xia's undisguised voice sounded at the same time as the assistant's voice. Mr. Liang, Miss Jiang has bought a plane ticket to the United States. Suddenly, Liang Zhe's smile froze on his lips. The assistant continued, in 10 minutes, Miss Jiang's flight will take off. Accompanying her is also the eldest son of the Lin family, Lin Guannan. As the assistant finished speaking the last word, Liang Zhe's eyes turned blood red. He kicked Chin Xia away like a madman. Stop Rujia immediately, otherwise, I'll make all of you die. The assistant quickly agreed. And the phone call was hung up, his mind could hardly think. And he was on the verge of collapse, all he could think of were Jiang Rujia's smiling eyes this morning. No wonder he always had a sense of being distant. It turned out that his Jejia had been planning to leave him. How could she, how dare she, just thinking that he would lose Jiang Rujia in the future. His heart felt as if it was being gripped by a big hand, and a dull pain came over him. Qin Xia was frightened by Liang Zhe. But she still summoned up the courage to move closer to him and said coquettishly, Mr. Liang, you still have me. I will never leave you. She wanted to pull Liang Zhe back into depravity. Liang Zhe's eyes were cold. The assistant then sent him all the details of Jiang Rujia's itinerary in the past few days, including what happened in the restaurant that day. That day, the waiter had diarrhea. After hearing the commotion outside, he secretly recorded the conversation. When Qin Xia's voice came from Liang Zhe's phone, she was immediately stunned, as if her soul had been taken away. Do you know that he had sex with me again today? He said he likes having sex with me. Do you know that only I can satisfy him? Liang Zhe played this sentence repeatedly. At the same time, he received a timed email from Jiang Rujia, naked photos and provocative words. Liang Zhe completely lost his mind. The pain in his heart burned like a fire. All his hard work in pretending vanished in an instant, and all his hopes and beauty turned into nothing. Qin Xia still wanted to explain. It's not, Mr. Liang, it's not me. Liang Zhe supported his forehead and smiled bitterly, his body full of hostility. Do you know that by tomorrow night at the latest, the ring I designed myself can be put on Rujia's finger? Do you know that the castle I designed and built will be completed next week? Do you know how long I've been preparing to propose to Rujia? He was so angry that his whole body was shaking. On the day he and Jiang Rujia confirmed their relationship when he was 18, he started preparing and planning. He had been waiting for the right moment. He didn't deliberately stand Jiang Rujia up on her birthday, he just wanted to give her a bigger surprise. But unexpectedly, he underestimated Qin Xia and the jealousy of women. Qin Xia, now that Rujia is gone, do you think you can take her place? Do you think you're worthy? Liang Zhe kicked Qin Xia again. This time, it hit her chest directly, and she vomited a mouthful of blood. He glanced at her in disgust, and then left directly. Qin Xia still wanted to chase after him, but was firmly held down by the bodyguards. 1 second before boarding the plane, I was informed that there was a problem with my visa and was taken to the VIP lounge. When Liang Zhe's assistant saw me, he heaved a big sigh of relief. The back of his shirt was soaked with sweat. It seemed that he had put in a lot of effort to stop me within 10 minutes. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. Lin Guannan had applied for a flight route in advance, and my original intention wasn't to take this flight that had already taken off either. Miss Jiang, even if you and Mr. Liang had a quarrel, you can't just leave like this. I gave a low laugh. Looking at his embarrassed expression, I said, you've been with Mr. Liang for 10 years and know what kind of person he is, but I think you should also know what kind of person I am. When Liang Zhe did these things behind my back, he should have expected the outcome between us. I'm not making a scene, I just want to leave him. Is that so difficult? The assistant paused for a moment but then quickly said, Mr. Liang loves you very much. He loves himself, Jia. How can you doubt my love for you? Liang Zhe arrived very quickly. When I turned around to look at him, his face was pale, his hair was messy, and he hadn't even had time to fasten the buttons of his shirt. Mr. Liang, who was always calm, steady, and unruly, today, he was really out of sorts. He walked quickly towards me. I subconsciously took a step back. He immediately stopped at a distance, his eyes full of hurt. Jia, I know you can't accept what I've done, but I love you. From beginning to end, the only person I love is you. Trust me this one time, okay? He begged humbly, but it somehow brought back the memories of my previous life. At that time, after I exposed him, he was still arrogant, because he knew in his heart that as long as I was still making a fuss, it meant I loved him, so he was unscrupulous. And now he has realized that he is about to lose me, so he is starting to panic. No, Jia, you said you would love me forever and never leave me. Were you lying to me? Liang Zhe asked me again, hoping to play on our past relationship, but he didn't know that all of this had long been consumed along with the past. I curved my lips and smiled. It was Uncle who lied to me first, wasn't it? With one action and the corresponding reaction, we're even now. As the last syllable fell, Lin Guannan called me. I responded, just as I was about to walk past Liang Zhe. He held my arm tightly. Jia, you can't leave. And you won't be able to leave either. I'm in charge here. Lin Guanan at the door gave a sneer. His tone was calm but full of the imposing manner of a superior. Mr. Liang, you're not in charge here. He came over and took my hand. When our fingers intertwined, Liang Zhe clenched his fists, and the veins on his hands bulged. Lin Guanan still smiled. Mr. Liang, you'd better think about how to face the reporters outside. After all, you're quite famous now. You're probably the first one to play with your lover to death. 13. Liang Zhe still wanted to chase after me, but he was surrounded by a group of reporters. He looked at Jiang Rujia's back unwillingly, pushing through the crowd, and the light in his eyes gradually faded. Instead, there was a dead silence and emptiness. Suddenly, a string of memories that both belonged and didn't belong to him rushed in. The pictures overlapped, and the past life and this life were completely different, in the memory. After Jiang Rujia found out about his affair with Qin Xia, he let the mistake stand and frankly admitted everything. Jiang Rujia couldn't accept it and made a scene like a crazy person. But she was so silly, how could she possibly bring him down on her own? With just a few words and actions from him, everything was resolved. He wanted to use hypnosis, to make Jiang Rujia approve of him, but when he saw her suffering, he felt extremely distressed, so he brought Jiang Rujia back to the Xiangshan villa after only 3 months. He told her again and again, sex and love can be separated. I love you, so I can't bear to do such bad things to you, but I'm also human. I have desires and cravings. Jiejia, can you have some pity on me? Stop being angry with me. Jiejia, I know you love me, but if you love me, you should also love everything about me, right? Love my despicableness. Love my dirtiness and filth. But Jiang Rujia was like a broken doll. All the light had disappeared from her eyes. He started to panic. He could lose everything, but he couldn't lose Jiang Rujia. He tried his best to be good to Jiang Rujia, trying to go back to the past. He even hated Qin Xia and made decisions on his own. If nothing had happened, he would have married Jiang Rujia happily, had their own children, and they would have grown old together. But he didn't expect that. Jiang Rujia would lock herself in the room and set the villa on fire. When he found out, he rushed into the sea of fire like a madman, ignoring all the obstacles. The burning flames scalded his skin, but he didn't care at all. He only wanted to find Jiang Rujia, but at that time, she had already stopped breathing. Regret and guilt intertwined in his heart, and he was in so much pain that he could hardly breathe. In the end, he also committed suicide in the sea of fire. When he came back to his senses, Liang Zhe let out a painful growl. Like a desperate beast, he pushed through the crowd, stumbling and rushing towards Jiang Rujia's direction with all his might. But in the end, he didn't catch anything, only an illusion. Jiang Rujia was gone. She completely abandoned him, whether in the previous life or this life. He had been abandoned by Jiang Rujia. Obviously, they had agreed to be together forever. He cried hoarsely, without any dignity. Like a child who had made a mistake, he repeated over and over again, "Forgive me, forgive me." 14 inches the 3rd month after arriving in the United States, I have gradually adapted to the life here. I shuttle between the dormitory and the laboratory every day and am no longer confined by love and affection. Lin Guanan and I are now friends, confidants, and the best partners. The ideals that were not realized in my previous life have finally been fulfilled in this life. Later, I heard news about Liang Zhe. It was half a year later. Lin Guanan told me about it. When Liang Zhe was originally going to be imprisoned for kicking Qin Xia to death, the Liang family produced his medical records indicating mental illness, so he was sent to a mental hospital instead. At first, Lin Guanan thought Liang Zhe was pretending. Unexpectedly, Liang Zhe was truly crazy. He holds a doll every day, changes its clothes for it, and gently combs and braids its hair. He likes to hold the doll when he sleeps and sometimes stares at it and cries. Every night, he always says affectionately to the doll, "I love you, Jiejia. I will only love you forever and ever. You don't have to love everything about me. I can change for you." Coming back with him was also Qin Xia, my senior sister. "You, don't leave me, don't leave me." The staff are often scared by him when they do the night inspection, and sometimes they avoid him. When I heard this, I was stunned for a moment, but in the end, I didn't say anything. Everyone has their own destiny, and this is the ending he chose for himself. After this incident happened in the Liang family, although there wasn't much impact on their interests, their reputation was inevitably damaged, so, they completely removed Liang Zhe from the family register and drove him out of the Liang family. Liang Zhe is now in a mental hospital. He is all alone and helpless. The rest of his life will probably be like this. Story 2. Throughout her life, Feng Yu regarded me as her arch nemesis. After every exam, she would always ask about my scores first. If I scored a few points higher than her, she would curse under her breath. When she heard that I was dating Lu Shichuan, she secretly confessed to him. But after being rejected, she flew into a rage. Later, we attended different universities. And I thought I had finally escaped from her. However, when she learned about my successful startup, she decided to mimic me and start her own business, only to quickly go bankrupt. She blamed all her failures on me, ambushed me outside my home, and stabbed me multiple times. Reborn back to our first year of high school, she swore that this time around, she would live a better life than me. To my surprise, her strategy involved copying everything I did in my past life. It seems she never heard the story of Dongsher trying to mimic Shishir's frown. 01, reborn back to our first year of high school. The teacher I disliked the most in my previous life, bald teacher Lee, began the class by trying to put everyone in their place. Don't think just because you did well in the middle school exams, you'll do well in the college entrance exams, especially the girls, who tend to falter in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Many just can't grasp it no matter how hard they study. Feng Yu raised her hand high without waiting for Teacher Lee to call on her and walked up to the podium. Teacher, what you said is incorrect. You claim that girls lack stamina in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Do you have any evidence? Teacher Lee tapped on his desk. I've been teaching for over a decade, and my experience is the evidence, Feng Yu countered. Teacher Lee, taking our school as an example. The recent graduates from the third year had girls scoring on average 0.2 points higher than boys in mathematics upon entry, and 0.5 points higher in the college entrance exams, showing an even more distinct advantage. Over the past 5 years, girls have outscored boys in the science comprehensive tests in 3 of those years, and in 4 years, the top science student in the college entrance exams was a girl. From the data, girls are not lacking in stamina. Wouldn't you say your experience is somewhat biased? Feng Yu stood straight, her gaze piercing as she looked at Teacher Lee. Sunlight streamed in from the window, converging upon her. Both the boys and girls in the class began to applaud her. Teacher Lee stood awkwardly in place, and after a moment, he said, "You're Feng Yu, right? Well then, study hard these next few years, and I'll be watching. Do you have anything else to say? If not, you may return to your seat." But Feng Yu wasn't ready to let the topic drop just like that. Holding her head high, her face a mix of pride and defiance, she challenged, "Teacher Lee, if by the time we graduate, the girls score higher than the boys in the college entrance exams, would you be willing to retract your prejudice against girls and refrain from making such statements in the future?" Teacher Lee, and she locked eyes for a few seconds before he averted his gaze and reluctantly agreed with a simple, "Okay." The whole class cheered for Feng Yu. Lu Shichuan, the esteemed young master of the Jing Circle and my fiancé in the previous life, watched her for a long while. As Feng Yu walked down from the podium, she looked like a triumphant hero, but only she and I knew that in my previous life, all those cheers were for me. 02, Feng Yu said that this time around, she would definitely beat me. Unexpectedly, her strategy to surpass me involved exactly replicating my every move from the previous life. She mimicked how I rebutted Teacher Lee and instantly became a celebrity in the class. She even copied the speech I made in the previous life to run for class president. She started imitating my style from the past as well. I knew she was doing this to catch Lu Shichuan's attention. Feng Yu had harbored a crush on Lu Shichuan for many years, but he always kept people at a distance, claiming he was uninterested in dating. It wasn't until rumors spread about his interest in me that Feng Yu finally mustered the courage to confess to him, but Lu Shichuan rejected her. Unwilling to give up, she asked, "Then what kind of girl do you like?" Lu Shichuan smiled shyly, mushroom haircut, straight bangs, black-rimmed glasses, someone smart, good at studying, and with a cool personality. That was me. After being reborn, Feng Yu cut off her long ponytail. With her bangs neatly combed into a mushroom cut and black-framed glasses perched on her nose, she actually believed that Lu Shichuan liked me for my fashion sense. After school, only Feng Yu and I were left in the classroom. She said with a smug expression, "This afternoon, Lu Shichuan looked at me 17 times. Your fiancé is falling for me." I noticed Lu Shichuan watching her too. At the time, I didn't understand. I thought he liked me in his past life because of who I was. Not realizing it was the mushroom cut and black-framed glasses that caught his attention, but something felt off. In the past life, his feelings for me didn't develop this quickly. When we first started high school, Lu Shichuan just thought I was a show-off. Coming from a conservative family, he was taught to be modest and unassuming. never to boast about goals before achieving them, unlike me, who boldly declared upon enrollment, "I will top the monthly exam to show Mrs. Lee the strength of a leading lady." He found me childish and lacking subtlety, even a bit annoying. He invited the whole class to his birthday party, except for me, but I liked him, probably what they call a physical attraction. I couldn't help but smile foolishly whenever I saw him, wanting to get closer and breathe in his scent. So, I confessed my feelings to him. I showed up at his doorstep with a small gift, asking why he hadn't invited me to his birthday party. He didn't expect me to ask such a direct question. Taking advantage of his stunned silence, I tiptoed up and kissed him on the lips. "Lu Shichuan, I like you. I've wanted to tell you for a long time. If you end up liking me too, you have to let me know." Of course, he didn't accept my confession, but later, I became obsessed with physics, pestering a senior who had won a gold medal in a physics competition with questions every day. Lu Shichuan cornered me in the hallway, asking if what I said at his doorstep still stood, but about romantic matters, I didn't think too much. After all, I wasn't reborn to engage in petty romances. After school, I went straight to the hair salon and replaced my mushroom cut with long, black, straight hair. I swapped my glasses for contact lenses. Now, nobody could confuse me with Feng Yu. Unexpectedly, my change in style caused quite a stir at school. Someone posted on the forum, "Did a new transfer student join class 3? I declare her my goddess," along with a picture of me with long hair. The post received countless replies. "So beautiful. I want to be her desk mate. What's her name?" Finally, someone recognized me. "Doesn't she look a lot like Gu Xiangxiang? Did Gu Xiangxiang get hair extensions?" I jumped in to confirm, yes, originally unnoticed in this lifetime. I suddenly became a campus celebrity. The next day, students from the neighboring class gathered at our classroom door, eager to see what I looked like in person. The usually boisterous sports committee member, who had been brotherly to me just yesterday, seemed shy speaking to me today. Even Zhou Quan, the senior who had tutored me in physics competitions last lifetime, lingered his gaze on me for several seconds when delivering materials to our class. Only Lu Shichuan remained indifferent. Whenever he passed by, he would not spare me a glance, as if fearing that looking at me would infect him with a virus. In the school's beauty contest on the forum, I was leading by a large margin, yet, Lu Shichuan commented below, "I think Feng Yu is prettier." The classmates thought the crown prince of the capital was blind. Feng Yu was smug. "What's the use of those people liking you? Can they provide you resources when you start a business?" She didn't understand. I didn't succeed in business by relying on men, but through solid technical skills and keen market insights. In my past life, I devoted all my energy to studying. Living again, I realized that beyond academics, there are so many worthwhile things to do. On weekends, I accompanied my grandfather to the chess stall under the big tree, watching him win and modestly claim his skills were decent. I finally confronted the swindler who targeted the elderly with health products, directly calling the police. My grandfather had suffered liver failure due to his medicines in the past. I discovered the large bottle of Coke my grandmother had hidden under the bed. She had to throw it away right there and then. Grandma was distressed. That cost over 10 yuan. I scared her, saying, "If you get diabetes, insulin injections will cost you thousands every month. Plus, you might get skin ulcers that won't heal properly. And if things get worse, you might even need an amputation." Frightened, she threw away the Coke herself. In my previous life, all those terrifying things I mentioned turned out to be true. During dinner, my mom and dad were discussing, why isn't the stock price rising even though the company's product sales have increased so much? Could there be hidden problems? I immediately recognized that this was the company whose stock had soared 20-fold after my dad sold his shares in my previous life. He had made the right call. He just lacked confidence in his own judgment. I missed out on the chance to become the child of a wealthy family because of that. I asked my dad, "Why are you so sure it'll go up?" My dad went into detail about his research. He had counted the trucks delivering goods at the factory gate and even talked to the security guards about the operational rate. Moreover, the company was in a semi-monopolistic industry, ensuring a margin of profit, logical and well-founded. My mom, an experienced accountant, nodded in agreement repeatedly. Having studied an MBA in my previous life, I found my dad's analysis professionally convincing. I thought for a moment and said to him, "You guys own a house and a car and have no debts. Even if you lost all 200,000, it wouldn't really affect our current quality of life, right?" Seeing them nod, I persuaded my dad to delete the stock trading app and reinstall it 6 months later, to prevent him from selling the shares secretly. There are so many wealthy heirs in the world. I shouldn't be missing out. 05. The first monthly exam of the 11th grade came quickly. On the day the results were released, Feng Yu ran to ask our class teacher, "Teacher, how much did Gu Xiangxiang score overall?" Teacher Lin avoided the question, simply stating, "Feng Yu, you did very well, you're the top of the grade, and Gu Xiangxiang, that's Gu Xiangxiang's private matter." Unsatisfied, Feng Yu rummaged through my desk for the score sheet. "You only ranked 20th in the grade. You've regressed." Determined, she looked at Lu Shichuan, who was entering with a basketball, and told me, "Gu Xiangxiang, in this life, I am the smart girl." I didn't expect her obsession with Lu Shichuan to be so deep. In my previous life, when Lu Shichuan rejected her confession, he said he liked smart girls who were good at their studies. After that, Feng Yu began to study day and night. She studied until 1 in the morning, woke up at 5, worked on problems for 2 hours, and then went to school. Her desk was always piled high with tutorial books. She participated in no extracurricular activities, and she would get impatient if someone spoke to her. Everyone thought she was a bit of an oddball. She became more and more reclusive, and Lu Shichuan naturally never paid her any attention. He even stopped inviting her to birthday parties, not wanting to disturb her studies. But Feng Yu never ranked first. Once, when she heard I had topped the grade again, she tore up her test paper in front of everyone and stomped on it. Her classmates thought she was obsessed and dared not get close to her. This time, she finally managed to surpass me, but what she didn't anticipate was that aside from initially saying she was pretty on a forum, Lu Shichuan showed no interest in pursuing her. When she made advances, he distanced himself. During a PE class, the boys were sweating it out on the basketball court. After scoring a three-pointer, Lu Shichuan lifted his shirt to wipe off sweat, revealing his lean waist. The onlooking students whistled. He then realized and quickly pulled down his shirt. Feng Yu squeezed through the crowd to the edge of the court, poking him on the shoulder from behind and handing him a bottle of mineral water. "Oh, wow, has brother Lu started dating a girlfriend? So, he's showing off his relationship in public now." The area erupted with playful teasing. Everyone knew that bringing water on the basketball court was a privilege reserved for girlfriends. Feng Yu's face turned crimson. Unexpectedly, Lu Shichuan turned around and coolly told his teammates, "Don't talk nonsense." Pointing to the red water bottle at the side, he politely and gently thanked Feng Yu. "Thank you, but I brought my own water." I'm not sure if Lu Shichuan likes Feng Yu, but I am sure he doesn't like me. He showed off his strength in our sparring class, nearly injuring me. In my past life, when Feng Yu stabbed at me, I saw her pull out the knife. I could have dodged if I had been quicker, but I wasn't fast enough, nor strong enough. After being reborn, I decided to practice martial arts. I wasn't naturally talented, but I trained exceptionally hard. 2 weeks later, my coach said I had mastered the basic moves and could start sparring with other students. My sparring partner was Lu Shichuan. He seemed startled when he saw me, then his brow furrowed, and he didn't bother to hide his hostility. He fought like he was on a battlefield, putting full force into every punch and kick. Holding his shield, I was pushed back by the force of his blows until I hit the wall. Then he struck fiercely again, and I finally lost my balance and fell on the mat behind me. Even the coach couldn't stand it. "What are you doing, Lu Shichuan? I asked you to practice the techniques, not to use your physical strength to bully a girl." My arm was cramping, and tears streamed down my face as I cried uncontrollably. "If you have a problem with me, Lu Shichuan, just say it. Why are you acting crazy?" He looked at me coldly. "I won't let you hurt her." I said I just wanted to protect myself, but he didn't believe me. After drying my tears, I realized I had cried out one of my contact lenses. I decided to take the other one out too. Put on glasses, and retied my hair. Lu Shichuan froze. He stared at me for several seconds, then couldn't help but ask, "Gu Xiangxiang, have we met somewhere before?" I took a few days off school and returned to T University to see my mentor from my previous life. When I arrived, Professor Lin was giving a lecture to undergraduates. Waiting at the back of the classroom, I heard her passionate voice echoing in the hallway. At 18 in my last life, I was inspired by her passion and went through a lot of effort to join her research group. Now, she had just received her qualification as a master's advisor. Young and promising, her future was bright. However, since she wasn't yet famous, the school didn't allocate her many resources. After class, I stopped her. "Professor Lin, I'd like to join your research group." She rejected me outright. I explained that I was proficient in programming and had self-studied the course, capable of handling research tasks, but she still wasn't interested in letting me join. "Miss Gu, it's good to have an interest in research, But this project is only open to undergraduates. I played my trump card. Professor Lin, does your group lack equipment? I can provide funding. Is 1 million enough? In my previous life, the artificial intelligence project she led had started 3 years before I enrolled, but the project was expensive to run, and she had struggled to secure sufficient funding. For the first few years, the project remained in the theoretical phase. It was not until the year I enrolled, when artificial intelligence became a national priority, that she obtained enough funding. This time, money was not an issue. The stocks my father chose increased 20-fold in 6 months. I pulled out the New Year's money I had been saving since childhood and asked him to buy 50,000 for me too. Thus, by the second semester of the first year of high school, I had earned my first million. When I came to do research, Professor Lin was taken aback. Come, write these few programs for me. I want to see your basic skills. During the week I didn't go to school, I was incredibly busy. I woke up at 6 a.m. every day and went straight to T University by subway. I got to know the senior students in the group well, added equipment to the lab, and even attended the first aid training as Professor Lin requested. During this time, Gu Shichuan and Feng Yu sent me countless WeChat messages. Gu Shichuan, Gu Xiangxiang, why aren't you coming to school? Did I hurt you? Can I come to see you? Just reply if you're okay. Gu Xiangxiang, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Feng Yu was agitated. Where did you go? Gu Xiangxiang, where did you go? Why aren't you coming to school? Did your grandfather die again? Reply to me quickly. Feng Yu and I competed for the top rank in our grade, but I never took it to heart. But her comment about my grandfather crossed the line. It was time to give her a warning. In my previous life, at this time, my grandfather had died from liver damage caused by fraudulent health products. I hadn't gone to school for several days. Feng Yu brazenly barged into the memorial hall. I asked her what she wanted, and she casually waved her hand. I thought you were getting tutored by some famous teacher. But it turns out someone in your family died. That's a relief. Even the neighbor couldn't stand it. How can you speak like that? So disrespectful. Feng Yu turned and left, cursing the old lady. Idiot. Looking back, those days must have been the highlight of her previous life. That monthly test was the only time in 3 years of high school that Feng Yu scored higher than me, and she took it as proof that her abilities were comparable to mine in this life. Feng Yu once again came to my house. My grandfather was watering the flowers at the door, greeting her with a smile. You must be Xiangxiang's classmate, right? Wait here, I'll call her. My grandfather went inside, leaving us alone. Feng Yu squinted her eyes. Heh, this old fool is still alive. I clenched my fists in my pockets. Come with me. You wanted to know where I've been these past few days, right? I took her to a small alley behind the street. There were no cameras here. Feng Yu, today I'll teach you how to speak properly. I grabbed her collar, clenched my fist, and started punching her face. Her blood stained my hands as she began to cry and scream. I pulled out a smelly rag from under the old bicycle seat and stuffed it into her mouth. Wipe your mouth. Speak cleaner from now on. Since she kept targeting me, I decided to beat her until she submitted. Her glasses shattered, her nose skewed, her school uniform tore, and clumps of her hair fell out. Tears mixed with the blood flowing from her nostrils, dripping into her mouth. I asked her, Feng Yu, will you learn to speak properly? She nodded hurriedly, fear evident in her eyes for the first time. Turns out she was just a bully who feared the tough. I pulled the rag out of her mouth and watched her lean against the wall, violently vomiting. Feng Yu, tell me, whose family had someone die? She sobbed and admitted, it's someone in my family died. Stop hitting me, you're going to kill me. Only then did I realize that the fiercely ruthless Feng Yu could have such a cowardly moment. Laughable. It was just a superficial injury. It seems that she had never seen so much blood before, except for the day in her previous life when she killed me. Only when blood flowed from her own body could she feel pain and fear. Behind me, a young voice full of hatred for evil rang out. Weren't you the one who said you wouldn't harm her? It was Lu Shichuan. The fading light of the setting sun shone from behind him. I couldn't make out his expression, only feeling as though lifetimes were between us. After I died in my previous life, my soul drifted for 2 to 3 years. I watched the people who loved me weep for me, wanting to comfort them but powerless to do so. They couldn't hear my voice. I watched as Lu Shichuan's emotions spiraled out of control, and then gradually stabilize. I thought he had finally started a new life. But just when I was relieved, Lu Shichuan went to the riverbank where we had our first date and fell into the river late at night. He was rescued by someone fishing. I thought he would survive, but the doctor declared that he had consumed alcohol and a large amount of antibiotics. He was determined to die. In this life, Lu Shichuan is still a slender young man with the clear eyes of youth, I told him. Stop getting involved in the matters between Feng Yu and me, it's better for both of us to keep our distance. But how could a 16-year-old boy, who couldn't stand injustice, allow bullying to happen in school? He coldly walked past me, lifted the bloodied Feng Yu, and draped his school uniform over her. From that day on, he escorted her to and from school, treating me as a dangerous threat. After that, I rarely went to school. My mother helped me get extended leave from school. I don't know what she told the principal, but the school agreed. I only needed to go to school once a week and take the regular school exams, so I spent my days between T University and the gym. At this moment, the wave of artificial intelligence was still under the surface, and neither the academic nor business worlds were sure if those grand ideas could become a reality. But the reborn me knew that this wave would surge in a few years, once the equipment was ready. Professor Lin immediately posted recruitment notices. She was ready to gather her team, but at that time, her fame was limited and the project funds were scarce, attracting few applicants. I went to the undergraduate department of T University and found the members of my previous life's project team, Senior Gu Yan, Senior Jing Wenliang, Senior Qing Hao. I persuaded each one, ensuring they all submitted their applications and were once again selected by Professor Lin. Our project focused on AI industrial robots. Traditional robots could only replace humans in performing predefined repetitive tasks, but they were incapable of troubleshooting or handling unexpected situations on their own. If a screw got stuck, the entire production line would halt, waiting for a worker to solve the problem. But AI robots could think for themselves. They could learn, like humans, to remove a worn-out screw and replace it with a new one. Although we had successfully developed this type of robot in my previous life and I remembered several key technical points, the project progress wasn't as smooth as I imagined. The other members did not have memories of their previous lives, and there were many details in their parts that I was not familiar with. A lot of work had to be started from scratch. I was busy with work in the lab, and Feng Yu was not idle either. After being beaten up last time, she was still uneasy. Worried that I was secretly working hard without her knowing, she came to track me again. When she saw me, I was buying nails with Senior Gu Yan at the building materials market. Feng Yu tentatively asked, "So you've stopped going to school and started working as a contractor?" I nonchalantly nodded, unconvinced. She followed us back to T University, where she was stopped by security. Next to the security booth stood Lu Shichuan. Feng Yu evidently hadn't expected me to call him over. She hastily concealed the darkness and malice in her eyes, replacing it with a demure, innocent demeanor. I smiled at Lu Shichuan. I don't know what's up with Feng Yu. After the beating I gave her last time, she still keeps hovering around me. Why don't you keep her in check? Feng Yu's expression was sour. I wonder how she's going to explain this to Lu Shichuan. In the following weeks, Feng Yu anxiously kept tabs on my every move. It wasn't until the next monthly exam that she finally eased up on her vigilance. She topped the grade effortlessly, and me, having lived 2 lifetimes, fell out of the top 50 for the first time. I hadn't touched a high school textbook in a month. During class, Teacher Lee from the math department publicly shamed me. Some students aim too high but can't even grasp middle school knowledge. Yet they talk about joining research at University T. Am I right, Gu Xiangxiang? I stuffed my papers into my backpack. Teacher Lee, the principal approved my leave. If you have any objections, you should take it up with him. I'm leaving now. I still have bugs to fix in the lab. Unexpectedly, Feng Yu chased after me as I left the classroom. She asked in astonishment, "You joined that research project from your past life?" Since Teacher Lee had already mentioned it, there was no point in hiding it from her. So I nodded. "Is there any point?" Feng Yu asked me. "Lu Shichuan dislikes you so much. Even if your project is excellent, you won't get any investment from Lu's corporation," I casually replied. "Then don't worry about it." Top student. I couldn't be bothered to explain to her that in my past life, Lu's corporation invested in my project not because of Lu Shichuan's personal favor, but because my technological achievements were valuable to their enterprise. Our developed robots could replace workers in dangerous operations, reducing production costs and accidents. Back then, our team received thousands of investment offers from around the world. Everyone wanted a piece of this major technological revolution. Choosing Lu's corporation was simply because I loved Lu Shichuan, nothing more. In the blink of an eye, the project had been going on for over a year. Progress was much faster than in my previous life, but a core problem remained unresolved in my past life. It was Senior Qing Hao who had a breakthrough and rewrote a segment of code after a heartbreak, which finally got the model to work, but now, He was 3 years younger than when he joined the project in my previous life and hadn't yet met the girl who would break his heart and drive him to code through the night. That's when I thought of Zhou Quan, my high school senior who coached me in the physics competition and was now a freshman at University T. He was the smartest and most creative person I knew. Maybe he could bring some new progress. Professor Lin took to him instantly, praising the test code he wrote. He's a true genius. It's rare for University T to produce such talent. Zhou Quan blushed at her compliments. After my rebirth, I've been so busy. I need to keep up with the research project and my fitness. I know that once my project succeeds and gains social recognition, Feng Yu will definitely feel upstaged. She'll become jealous and act against me. This time, I must be capable of protecting myself. Outside the huge floor-to-ceiling windows of the gym, the sky was filled with the glow of dusk, and it was time for school to end. That's when I noticed Lu Shichuan had arrived, standing at the door watching me hit the punching bag. I asked him, "Why didn't you escort Feng Yu home from school today?" He replied, "There's a parent-teacher meeting today, and she stayed to share her study experiences." I glanced at my sports watch, feeling the date was familiar, then remembered what happened on this day in my past life. I immediately ran towards the school. "What are you doing?" Lu Shichuan asked, puzzled, as he chased after me. When we reached the school entrance, his anxiety grew, and he quickly stepped in front of me with his long legs. "Are you going back to school to hit someone?" I didn't have time to explain, and breathlessly told him, "Go to the rooftop and find Hu Xuemei. Don't let her jump off." He paused for a couple of seconds, decided to trust me, and hurried towards the rooftop. During the last parent-teacher meeting, as the top student of the grade, I stayed behind to share my learning experiences. After finishing my speech, I leaned against the corridor wall, waiting for my mom so we could go home together. Suddenly, I heard bald Teacher Lee say, "Could the parents of these students please stand up?" I saw a few parents hesitantly rise to their feet. Teacher Lee angrily addressed them, "Why is it that I teach all these students, yet someone else's child is first in the grade, and your children are at the bottom? Reflect on this. Have you taken responsibility for your child's performance? Have you fulfilled your duties as parents? If your child is not doing well, you need to find a solution. Let's hear it. What are your plans to help improve your child's grades?" The parents who stood up were at a loss for words, while those seated were visibly uncomfortable. A tall man in the front row stooped and bowed his head, beginning to apologize softly to Teacher Lee. Teacher Lee arrogantly demanded, "I can't hear you. Speak up." In the corridor, Hu Xuemei, who was waiting with me for the meeting to end, was biting her lip, her expression one of despair. That was her father. He was dressed in a worn-out padded jacket, meekly admitting his shortcomings, accepting every insult from Teacher Lee. I told Hu Xuemei, "Teacher Lee is an idiot. Just wait. I'm going to confront him." I stormed into the classroom. Perhaps the parents aren't aware, but Teacher Lee hardly teaches during class. He just lets students study on their own while he smokes and makes phone calls in the corridor. After every test, he pressures the students with lower scores to join his tutoring classes outside school, charging 1,000 yuan per hour. Teacher Lee, infuriated, yelled at me, "What nonsense are you spouting? Get out." I ignored him and continued, "I think the parents really need to consider replacing an irresponsible teacher. Not every parent has the capability to tutor their children, but a teacher does. It's just that Teacher Lee isn't willing to do it for free. Also, Teacher Lee, my good grades have nothing to do with your teaching. I studied on my own. Stop using me as an example." That day, Hu Xuemei told me that she had already planned to jump off the school rooftop. Her family couldn't afford the tutoring fees. She felt her existence brought endless humiliation to her father. As dusk fell, my heart pounded. The moment I rushed onto the rooftop, I saw Lu Shichuan embracing Hu Xuemei from behind. Just as she was about to climb over the railing, I yelled to her, "Don't jump. We're getting a new teacher next week. Your dad said you are his pride." As night fell, the three of us stood there, gasping for breath, tears streaming down our faces in silence. Back in the classroom, the parent-teacher meeting had already ended. Teacher Lee was discussing the prices for his tutoring classes with a few remaining parents. Hu Xuemei's father looked embarrassed. "Teacher, let me think of a solution. It's my fault. I don't want to hold my child back." Teacher Lee impatiently said, "If we delay any further, it'll be too late." Later, Hu Xuemei's father pleaded with Feng Yu, "Classmate, could you spare some time to share your study tips with Xuemei? You're so outstanding." Feng Yu responded indifferently, "I don't have any tips." But when she saw Lu Shichuan enter the classroom, her attitude changed. She angrily pointed at Teacher Lee. "Teacher Lee, do you know that running private tutoring classes is illegal?" Under her guidance, Hu Xuemei's academic performance improved rapidly. Hu Xiuemei's father was so grateful that he not only wrote a letter of commendation to the school but also invited journalists to promote her good deeds. However, this did not resolve the doubts in Lu Shichuan's mind. After school, he came to the Sonda classroom and asked me, "How did you know Hu Xiuemei was going to commit suicide?" I could have made up an excuse to deceive him, but I suddenly felt that it was pitiful for him to be deceived back and forth by two people who had been reborn, so I decided to tell him the truth. Because I have been reborn. All these things have happened before in my previous life. Actually, Fengyu has also been reborn. Lu Shichuan stood frozen in place. After a long time, he asked, "So, the girl with glasses that has a story with me, that's you, right?" Ever since Lu Shichuan was very young, he would inexplicably envision a girl in his mind. She had a mushroom haircut and wore glasses, but her face was unclear. He could not remember the past clearly, but he always felt an inexplicable heartache for her. It was not until his first year of high school when he met Fengyu that the girl in his mind finally had a face. Lu Shichuan was somewhat disappointed. He didn't feel anything special for her, even though he had previously thought there would be a romantic connection between them. But when Fengyu claimed that I bullied her, and later he saw me hitting her, he still felt sorry for her. He felt it was his duty to protect her. "Why didn't you believe her then?" I asked. He said, "I noticed that every time Fengyu did something good, she would subconsciously look for my reaction. I was always unsure if I was just being paranoid, but on the day of the parent-teacher meeting, she originally didn't want to deal with Mr. Li's issue. It was only after she saw me that she suddenly changed her attitude. That day I was sure she was putting on a show for me. She was acting for you, right? That also explains why she wore frame glasses even though she's not nearsighted." I nodded in acknowledgement. "Then why don't you play along with her at least until she helps Hu Xiuemei improve her grades?" 14. These days, Fengyu could be said to be in the limelight. The guaranteed admission to T University unsurprisingly went to her. She remained the perpetual top student in her grade and became a well-loved internet celebrity scholar for her helpful actions. Truly a paragon of virtue and talent. A reporter specifically interviewed her mother, who eagerly shared her educational experiences while putting me down. Fengyu had a classmate from the same school since they were kids. That girl scored 2 points higher than Yaya in the middle school exam. But after entering high school, that girl stopped studying and said she wanted to join some research project. At the time, Yaya was really anxious, afraid she couldn't keep up. I told Yaya, "Don't bother with all those fancy things. A student's main task is to study." And look now, Yaya has been guaranteed admission to T University. That girl only scored about 500 in the recent mock exam, and her project hasn't yielded anything. Fengyu politely tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, stop, she'll be upset." The host smiled appreciatively and asked, "So Fengyu, what major do you want to study in college, and what do you want to do in the future?" Fengyu smiled confidently. "I want to study artificial intelligence, to let machines work in place of humans and contribute to the development of the country's emerging industries." The audience erupted in applause. Nobody expected such a grand vision from a high school student. Speaking of which, I really did score just over 500 on the mock exam. I hadn't done high school practice problems in years, and they felt very foreign in the exam room. Luckily, there was progress in my project. One day at 3 in the morning, my phone started buzzing. Qinghao and Zhou Quan were flooding the chat group, saying that they had resolved an issue that had been stuck before. I immediately got out of bed and took a taxi to T University. When I arrived at the laboratory at 4 in the morning, the others were already there. Let's cut to the chase. Launch the program and have the robot execute the sorting instructions. This task might be straightforward for humans, but robots can easily mix up items of the same color. Moreover, each time a new type of item is introduced, the robot, lacking previous experience, tends to make frequent mistakes. Ultimately, existing machines struggle to autonomously reason and make decisions like humans, adapting to new situations, but our robot has succeeded. Its mechanical arm deftly sorted and moved dozens of previously unseen items from the basket to designated spots, organizing them meticulously. There were no hesitations, no omissions, no errors. The lab was silent for a few seconds, followed by deafening cheers. We had finally succeeded. T University is a nationally renowned institution with strict access control, making it difficult for ordinary visitors to explore. After Fengyu received her direct admission, she finally had the chance to enter the campus. The first place she visited was our lab. None of us students were there that day. Professor Lin, unaware of the grudge between her and me, treated Fengyu as a potential high school student interested in AI, enthusiastically demonstrating our robot to her. Phone you, try giving it a few commands and see if it understands you. Phone you, somewhat surprised. Tentatively issued commands. The robot responded by lifting its right arm, feigning a faint, and picking up a crumpled paper from the floor. Phone you skillfully made conversation. Are robots this smart now? If this were applied in industry, I wonder how much labor could be saved. Professor Lin, unsuspecting, replied, yes, we're already in talks with some factories. Phone you instantly became alert. She knew that once this achievement gained social recognition, I would be in the spotlight. At that time, her status as a direct admit to T University would seem insignificant. After all, thousands of T University students graduate each year, but only a few succeed in starting their own businesses. She came up with an idea. Professor Lin, could you give me a reading list on artificial intelligence? I'd like to start studying in advance. Professor Lin, appreciative of her initiative, responded, wait here, I'll go to my office and get it for you. You can play with the robot freely, but don't touch the server next to it. Professor Lin didn't anticipate that as soon as she left, Phone you would lock the lab door from the inside. At that time, during a short holiday, the other project members were not local. When I hurriedly arrived, Professor Lin had just had someone break the lock. Phone you was still tampering with the robot, and Professor Lin shouted in panic, what did you do? Didn't I tell you not to touch that machine? Ignoring her, Phone you looked at me triumphantly. Gu Xiangxiang, guess what I've been up to? The robot lay on the ground, unresponsive to my commands to stand up. Upon closer inspection, I saw that Phone you had dismantled many of its components and smashed its legs. Professor Lin nervously checked the server to find the back-end code completely erased. In just 1 hour, Phone you had turned our 2 years of hard work into scrap metal. That was our Robot 001, our pride and joy. I burst into tears. Phone you, if you wanted to do research, you could have just worked hard on your own. Why destroy someone else's work? I never competed with you for the top grades or the direct admission. I've always focused on my research without harming your interests. Why target me? Why delete our code? My distress brought her immense satisfaction, and she smirked. Gu Xiangxiang, I just don't like you. It's no use panicking now. I've completely deleted the code. It can't be recovered anymore. Phone you declared in the video, her voice echoing in the auditorium. But I've already backed it up for you. I'll gather a few PhD students, form a new team, and publish this technology under my name. Do you think the Liu family would invest in me? Given my relationship with Liu Shichuan, her words disgusted me. I pulled out my phone, intending to call the police, but Phone you quickly pulled a knife from her bag and held it against Professor Lin's throat, threatening, dare to call the police, I'll kill her if you do. A few days later, our high school held a coming-of-age ceremony for all the senior students. Distinguished alumni, city leaders, and business representatives attended, including Liu Shichuan's father. Phone you, representing the outstanding students, spoke at the event, basking in glory. Even the mayor had heard of her helpful deeds and praised her ambition to delve into technology at such a young age, remarking, Phone you should exchange notes with another classmate of yours, learn from her experiences. Perhaps not everyone is aware yet, but Gu Xiangxiang, another student, has participated in an artificial intelligence project that has secured a major international deal, promising substantial tax contributions to our city. The principal was both shocked and delighted, but Phone you was visibly flustered. She couldn't understand how the deal was signed when she had smashed the robot and deleted all the core codes. During those days, I appeared distracted and lost, which made Phone you overly confident, thinking her destructive actions had dealt us a blow that couldn't be mended. But for researchers, backing up data is second nature. We had several spare robots built, and most of our codes were stored in the cloud. The data she stole was just a minor part, which wouldn't even operate properly without the rest. If only she had some technical knowledge, she would have realized this. Phone you, lacking in technical understanding, thought she was halfway into the business elite club. Each time she saw me, she mocked, worrying won't help you. Why is your professor so foolish? By the time you rewrite the codes, my company will be public. Why not just focus on preparing for your college entrance exams? You haven't practiced for 3 years. Getting into any college would be good enough. You'll never catch up to me in this lifetime. She even leaned in, half of her face close to mine, and taunted, you probably want to hit me, but dare you? I'm now the school's pride. Touch me, and the principal himself will send you to the police station. At the coming-of-age ceremony, the principal realized he had another student to be proud of. The mayor, smiling broadly, gestured to the audience. Gu Xiangxiang, please come to the podium. Miss Gu is usually very modest. Why don't you introduce your research project to us? How did you and your team develop such an impressive robot? After my introduction, the mayor looked even more impressed and asked if he could visit our lab. I regretfully informed him that might not be possible right now. Our robot has been maliciously damaged and will take a long time to repair. The mayor's expression turned serious. Who would dare do such a thing? We must strictly hold accountable anyone hindering technological progress. I handed a hard drive to a staff member, asking him to project a video. Fengyu's face appeared on the large screen. All the students saw Fengyu violently smash the robot to the ground, breaking its legs, then crudely disassemble its arms with a screwdriver. She threw the disassembled parts out the window from a high floor. As she discarded the parts, she muttered, "Gu Xiangxiang, let's see how proud you can be now." Then she moved to the server, uploaded crucial data to her cloud, deleted the local codes, and formatted the machine. In the school auditorium, everyone witnessed Fengyu telling me in the lab, "It's useless to worry now. I've deleted the codes, and they can't be recovered, but I've already backed it up for you. Soon, I'll gather a few PhD students, form a new team, and publish this technology under my name. Do you think, given my relationship with Lu Shichuan, the Lu family would invest in me? Will the Lu family invest in me?" Fengyu also said, "Gu Xiangxiang, I just don't like you. You dare to call the police. If you do, I'll stab her." The entire auditorium was in uproar. When Fengyu was vandalizing, she didn't realize that even if our robots were damaged, their eyes would faithfully record every move of the vandal. Our servers are connected to the internet, and Fengyu's actions of modifying and stealing code were already logged by the back-end system and synced to the cloud. The video ended. Lu Shichuan's father sternly rebuked Fengyu. "What is your relationship with Lu Shichuan? Has my Lu family recognized you? When did it become your turn to integrate the resources of my Lu family?" Fengyu tried to flee to the audience, but was stopped halfway. The mayor, furious, said, "You know you've broken the law, and you still want to run, claiming to devote yourself to technology, yet what you actually did was steal others' achievements. Such a young age and already a con artist in academia. Where is the principal? Did you call the police? You're letting a student who dares to wield a knife get away with it." The principal sincerely admitted his mistake and ordered his staff to call the police immediately. He acknowledged that the school had failed to notice Fengyu's lack of morals. The school would immediately contact T University to withdraw Fengyu's recommendation for enrollment. The high school graduation ceremony ended abruptly. The city leaders told me that they would definitely seek justice for me. The development of new productive forces in the country needs excellent teams and technologies like ours. I repeatedly thanked them and invited them to visit our lab soon to meet the other team members. Fengyu glared at me viciously from the side. Several teachers stood around her, preventing her escape. Everyone just waited for the police to take her away. Her classmates who used to admire her now avoided her like a plague. Except for Hu Xueme, who came to see her. "Fengyu, I've always wanted to thank you for reporting Mr. Li. I didn't have the courage to do it myself. Especially thank you for spending time tutoring me. My math grades have improved a lot this semester. All thanks to you." Fengyu sighed, not sure to whom she was speaking. "It's a pity it's all useless now." Finally admitting it, Lu Shichuan appeared in front of her. "You said Gu Xiangxiang was jealous and bullying you. I even felt sorry for you at first, but you've been deceiving me all along. Gu Xiangxiang never saw you as a rival. It was you who were jealous of her, right? You schemed to get close to me, playing the victim, all for the resources of my family. Huh, Fengyu, you really disgust me." Fengyu watched him quietly, whispering, "No, I really did like you." Lu Shichuan disbelievingly responded, "I would never like someone like you. A rat from the sewers. It has come to this. Let's start over." Fengyu suddenly broke free from the watch of two teachers, smashed the principal's porcelain cup on the corner of the table. She picked up a sharp shard, pressed it against my shoulder, aiming directly at my carotid artery, but she was no longer a match for me. I grabbed her wrist, twisted it hard, and the porcelain shard dropped. Tears streamed down her face from the pain. Several teachers rushed over, pinning her to the ground. "You still don't realize your mistake and want to commit more violence." Fengyu lay on the ground, raising her neck stubbornly like a stranded fish. I crouched beside her. "There's no next round. Just serve your time in prison." I returned home, where my grandfather was watering the flowers at the door, and my grandmother made my favorite braised pork. Grandfather said to me, "Baby, don't overwork yourself. We don't ask you to stand out. Just to be safe and happy." Grandfather's face was sunny and warm, bringing warmth to my life. After high school, I was recommended for admission to T University due to my outstanding research achievements, while Lu Shichuan went abroad to study. Fengyu, guilty of stealing trade secrets and attempted murder, ended up in prison, Hu Xiaomei was admitted to a prestigious university. One day in my freshman year, I and teacher Zhou Quan went to a factory in the suburbs of Beijing to discuss cooperation. Coming out, I unexpectedly